into it. Let's get started. Okay. And last but certainly not least.
Whoa, sorry.
It's all good.
I was showering because I stank.
We can't
Were you
smell you
out
through the
there
screen.
fighting the cops?
No, I live rather far north of where that is occurring. So it would be probably a huge hassle to get down there. And then I'd get trapped down there
Yeah.
2 hours from where I live, so I'm good. I'm good on all that.
Okay. Well, we're about to start. Just like I told everyone else, I'll say hi to the audience, say hi to everyone, and you
Okay?
guys get brief introductions. You guys ready? Any questions before we go?
Nope.
Okay, let's do this. Okay. Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WIC TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. You know, I know there's a lot going on in the world, on the news. It seems all you see is burning cars, right? And people rioting in the streets. But today we're going to talk about what really matters, okay? What's actually important: games. And woke. And is woke ruining games? I guess we're going to find out. We've got some great guests today to find out with us. Thank you for the sub, Laru Talkin. Really appreciate you for 21 months. Man, yeah, that's a long time. Also nice to see you, Binks BB. Am I muted? No one can hear what I'm saying. Okay,
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
I understand. No one else can.
Yeah, the stream is muted.
Give me a moment, please.
Welcome, everybody, to the stream. This is my 2 to 3 hour break from writing and
okay.
editing
Can
a
you
real
guys hear
video.
me? Am I
Hope you
on?
enjoy.
Hello?
Yeah.
I'm asking
Yep,
the stream.
it's live now.
It's live. It's live. You guys can hear me. Everyone can hear everything that's going on. Thank God. Okay, so it wasn't mute. I wasn't muted. It just switched my mic settings on me, so it was using another mic over here that wasn't even set up. Anyway, let's try this again. Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WIC TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. And gang, have we got a show for you today? Look, I know you're all tired of seeing all the craziness on TV, the rioting, the protesting, the burning flags, the burning cars, cops and ICE agents going crazy, running over people, shooting reporters, all that. But today we're talking about something even more important, okay? Something that matters even more, which is gaming. And is wokeness ruining gaming? We've got some great people here to discuss it. I thank them for taking time out of their day to do so. And we're going to give the mic first to our friend, Ash of Creativity, Gelatinous Rube. Go ahead. What do you think? What do you say?
Hey, I'm James Ash Rube, whatever you want to call me. I'm primarily historically a tabletop RPG developer, transitioning away from that to video games on some unannounced projects. My problem isn't really with the content itself getting injected, or what people call woke getting injected into games. It's really woke being part of, like, advertised as the part of the development process. We have this developer, we have these people, we are this diverse because we've been studiously turning down applications from anybody who's part of a majority group. And that becomes a feature not of development, but of the game that gets advertised as being part of the game, which leads to a decrease in quality. It encourages evil people to join the games industry, people who are not just evil by virtue of, having bad opinions, being racist or sexist against majority groups, but additionally who have a desire, I think, to just destroy beauty, destroy anything that's good, get their claws into something that people are entertained by, and use it as a vector to nag them, berate them, basically make sure that there is no possible escape, which is what a lot of people use video games for. I think they're very evil people, and I think it's become a vector for those evil people, which is why I'm opposed to it.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. I'm sure we're going to have a great discussion tonight. Should be fun. Charlie, welcome.
Hello, I'm Enemy Charlie. I stream on Twitch. I also have a Master of Letters in Fantasy Literature, and part of my research focus was Tolkien studies and ludology, which is the study of games. I am here to be a woke defender, a defender of woke in video games. I sometimes I think it's okay if women in video games don't make your pee hard. I think it's okay if there's black people in your video games. I think you'll survive. I think if two boys kiss in your video games, I think you'll make it. Um, and that's what I'm here to defend and talk about.
Okay, well, thanks for being here, and I guess we'll have a lot to talk about as we go. Speaking of making your pee hard, okay, we have the one, the only Deej Nuts. Deej, tell people who you are, what you do, and why we should listen to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Deej. You should listen to me because I occasionally give Wick money, and is right. Yeah. As far as kind of the topic, I think that wokeness is both a problem and overstated in the industry as a whole. I think that we'll spend a lot of time debating about what wokeness actually is because it seems to be different depending on who you talk to. But at the end of the day, I think that there are cases where people interject identity over actual character into characters, and sometimes there are systemic issues within what I like to call corporate games that just result in worse storytelling. And yeah, we'll get into it.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you, and we'll see what we see. And last but certainly not least, the soy pill. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, I'm the soy pill. I'm also here to defend the concept of woke. I agree with Deej. I really am gonna need them to define it as soon as humanly possible at the beginning of the debate, because what that is and how it ruins games is such a all-encompassing thing. Most people don't know what woke even is. Wick, I would even argue you don't know what woke is because you use the term woke right, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Sorry, shots fired. I don't think wokeness ruins games. Bad writing ruins games. Bad writing can be woke. Bad writing can be not woke. Bad writing can be conservative. It usually is. I don't think there's any game that any of these people are going to be able to point to that is ruined because of wokeness. In fact, the opposite. Some of the best games in the past 10 years have been incredibly woke. Baldur's Gate, Hades, It Takes Two, Outer Wilds. I could go on. Lots of gays, lots of minorities, lots of kissing, and all the weird progressive ideals are in these fantastic games that are actually, in some ways, made better because of the wokeness. And at worst, the wokeness maybe detracts slightly, but it never, ever, ever ruins games. People who have fits about pronouns don't really give a shit about the gameplay. They're just mad because they want to be mad at this, like, unironically, woke mind virus that has infected their brain and made them look at all this thing through this lens of hatred instead of just enjoying art for what it is. So, yeah, I'm here to talk about how games are actually better than they've ever been in lots of different ways, in some part due to wokeness.
Okay, there's a lot to talk about. I want to start though with something that Ash said about getting the claws into the industry. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? And obviously this is open discussion. Any comments? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Sure, people who are, how do I put this? Some folks like to advertise their political ideals as being a reason for why you should hire them. And they have to keep up this appearance of like, hey, I'm going to continue injecting these political ideals. I'm going to inject my support into XYZ as a means of like, let's say I'm a writer for Bungie. And okay, I'm a gay man. I want to engage in a bunch of writing. It's very hard to be a writer in the industry, but I'm gay, and so I'm part of a minority group, and so you should hire me. That's good for appearances. Well, I have to participate in those appearances while I'm writing at my job. So I have to make a big stink of, let's say, we take two characters who had this history of brotherly love or a pseudo like father-son relationship, literally referring one character referring to another as their son. Anybody who's played Destiny 2, if you've heard of Osiris or and Saint 14, this was later turned into a gay love story by that writer for no reason except for, I think, the need to keep up appearances. So this person, maybe they're just dumb and they thought it was a good idea. But I think the political climate around quote woke encourages these people or selects for these people who aren't participating in good faith, aren't worried about what makes the best writing, but are worried about keeping up appearances because it's why they got hired to begin with, is appearances.
Could you explain
So it's
why
a
So
feature
that's
of
a
can
the
I
game,
can
bad
I,
not the
thing?
development.
Oh, one at a time, one at a time.
Go, Charlie.
Charlie first, and Soy.
out of curiosity, I can't. What's your name?
Ash.
Ash,
Okay,
Rube,
Ash.
James.
Um, do you think that gay people don't like to play games and might not be interested in making video games? Do you think that this is they could only ever want to participate
On the
in
contrary, I think
writing?
all people who play video games are gay.
I don't know what to do with that.
I think that
Maybe
was a
we don't
joke.
have a
You're gonna have to
disagreement.
take a slightly different approach.
Okay. Because I just feel like you're making assumptions about why someone wrote a gay love story. Um,
Mhm.
and you're making a lot of accusations about people who are queer or maybe not part of the majority group, participating in the making of games, specifically because they want to insert their agenda or
Mhm.
I don't know, ruin things. But I think you are failing to realize that sometimes gays just like video games and want to make video games and might want to have I don't know, like you're talking about the Destiny 2 guys, might want to take a slightly different approach. Um, and sort of reinvent the characters. It happens all the time.
Right. So I think there's two problems with that. One in which you cast this as kind of being like, well, minority groups just have to inject themselves, and only minority groups want to inject themselves. I don't think that's the case at all. I think there's a lot of pressure from the top to make sure that you're treating, I think to, again, keep up appearances. I don't think that you have to be gay to write a gay love story. You're not saying that, right?
No, I'm not saying that at all, but you are, talking about how like queer people join the games industry because they want to I don't know, secure an
I didn't
agenda.
say
You were saying evil people, and I wanted to know like what you meant by evil people earlier. Like evil people join the games industry to destroy traditional values or something in that capacity.
no, not
And again,
traditional
I think
values.
you
I think
are or I don't know, ruin someone's escapist fantasy. And I think you are, again, failing to recognize that sometimes women, gays, trans people, people of color, like video games. And sometimes they want to
Mhm.
make video games that maybe feature storylines or characters that are somewhat similar to them. I also don't think that, again, as long as the wokeness, I suppose, uh, doesn't detract from the story or have any negative impact on it, I don't think that's a big deal. I mean, I'm not a Destiny 2 player because I have standards, but like, do you think that um that kind of male friends who have maybe like a father-son sort of energy to it, do you think it ruined their storyline or their characters or the game itself by them being portrayed as gay in another context? Like, does that ruin it? Did it ruin it for you beyond like does that change the fact that they're two men that are very strongly bonded?
It was having two men who were very strongly bonded in a platonic sense. That was the primary draw, regardless of who they were interested in their personal lives or, or be portrayed with in the story later. It was that change from a platonic bond that was very strong and kind of felt like, I don't know, kind of felt like absent in a lot of other narratives or other stories or whatever have you,
Men
that
bonding
was changed to be
is
romantic.
men bonding is absent in narratives.
Male platonic bonding. Yeah.
I feel like all I ever see is male platonic bonding. Game of the Year, God of War 2018. That was about a father and son. That was some platonic male bonding. That was some very
And very
intense
successful.
platonic male bond. It was
yeah.
very successful. And it was about, a father and son, a father learning to be very tender and gentle with his son after the passing of the mother, and a man with, severe anger issues learning to be softer and gentler. And it was a beautiful
Mhm.
story. So
Yeah,
again,
and
that was
people
that
were
was Game of the
hungry
Year.
for it. They were desperate for it. It was wildly successful
You think that God of War was
for that
successful
purpose.
because of the lack of male bonding in games, and people are like, "Oh, finally, a male bonding game"?
Do you think? Wait, are you saying that the draw of God of War 2014 when it came out, the first one,
You said that people are hungry for it.
2018? Yeah, I said that people are hungry for it. So you're saying that there was no enthusiasm about that part of the game. That was something that could have just been left to the side. It wasn't really a big draw.
No, no,
We
Ash,
can't really
Ash. The prompt
we
is,
can't
does
gauge people's
wokeness
taste based off
ruin
that.
games? And so far, your current example of wokeness was they made two characters who could have been gay the whole time, but you, I guess, are implying they wouldn't. They were infiltrated by a gay writer who then transformed the gay agenda into his video game and ruined it for you. Which I have to say, Destiny 2 was dog shit on release and is still dog shit. I don't think that ruined the game. Had nothing to do with the
Agreed.
wokeness, but I guess like we just to frame this back to the center, like where do you see wokeness ruining games? If you say like Charlie and I could probably agree, and we could point to examples of games that have really poor writing that try to inject some sort of, what someone would call woke, some progressive ideology into it in a way that is like anachronistic or out of place. But that's bad writing. That's not the wokeness ruining the game. And even then, it might not be the reason the game's bad. It just might be something that took you out of it for a couple seconds. So I guess we really need you to elaborate on one, what is woke, two, how these evil woke agenda pushers are getting into this game and making sure everyone's gay or trans or black or whatever it is that you think they're doing, and three, why that's bad and how it actually ruins these games.
Yeah, I want to take a step back for a second because there's been a bunch of accusations floated about, like, all right, well, it's because they're gay that you're upset, or it's because they're this, or it's because they're that, or because the writer is this or that. Again, that's not the case. My problem is the advertising of, hey, we are people who like this kind of political agenda, and we like to push this political agenda as being part of the development process, moving from there to being basically a feature of the gameplay. It takes up space in terms of what you can expect from this game or what you might want to see out of this game. By the way, there are these people working on it. They have these ideas. We have this image to keep up. And that's now part of the advertised gameplay, you could say.
Okay, and what's wrong with
And
that?
so what I'm saying is that's bad because it
Why?
takes away from actual gameplay. I think games are in a lot of ways getting a lot simpler. I shouldn't just say simple. They're getting a lot less meaty. They're less deep. They're more shallow. Yeah, games are getting shallow.
In
There's
what
not as much to
capacity, I
do in
guess?
them.
I mean, you just described a more fleshed out and thorough relationship in games that didn't exist before because voice acting wasn't a thing, because you couldn't put, like,
Mhm.
sound on memory cards. Like, what about this is more shallow? Like, if you want to talk about how games are degrading into
Sound
these
on memory cards and
garbage
voice acting has been around
microtransaction
for a very
bullshit.
long
No,
time.
no, I know, but I mean, like, what are you
Yeah,
metric
it's
are
not
you
like a
saying is
recent
makes it more
invention.
shallow?
So when we talk about gameplay specifically, I think there's less modes of play, there's less things to do in games, there's less to chew on in a game. Like, all right, we'll go back to Destiny 2, which everybody, it seems, on this panel agrees is a dog shit game. There's less to do in that game.
But do you
There's
think
a
that's because
few
there's a gay
campaign missions.
relationship in it?
There's definitely not. There's a few campaign missions that you get to play. There's some multiplayer combat, and then you can roam around an empty world, shooting the occasional, I don't know, 4 or 5 enemies who happen to
Hmm.
be grouped together. And
Right.
it's a shallow experience. And
Right.
so if you bring somebody on who's going to be, hey, I'm part of the development process, I'm part of the team, this is what I'm bringing to the game. Being woke, whatever that is, whatever
Yeah,
the development
developing the
team
characters.
thinks it is. Uh, but it's not part
So
of the game.
could I interject for a bit? I
Yeah.
feel like I think we can all agree that Elden Ring kind of took the Western gaming world by storm. in the sense that many developers, Western game developers, were shocked by its success. And this is because their formula of making military shooter after military shooter, which featured men with gun shooting other men with guns, had become very stale. And Elden Ring is, my God, that is not a simple game. I have hundreds of hours on it. Baldur's Gate 3 is not a simple game. I have 500 plus hours on it. Those are very crunchy, very juicy games, both in, they're ludo-narratively crunchy and complex. And those are games that I think, especially Baldur's Gate 3, could be considered very progressive in the values that they portray.
Use the word,
So
Charlie. It's woke. They're woke games.
That they're woke.
I would
These
say
are
it's
woke.
more horny than woke, but
That's fair. Horny is woke. Woke is horny.
Can we pause? Can we get you guys to define woke for us so we know what we're talking about?
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
Okay, cool. What about you,
go
Deej?
for it.
yeah, so woke is when you interject intersectionality into a game for the sake of having intersectionality into a game. Like, for instance, if you introduce a character where, for the most part, the character's only there so that you can have a gay character, or when you have characters who, like, the whole depth of what they are is to become a poster board for this minority group that you want to have represented in your story. And, like, kind of the test is if you were to take this character and remove them entirely, is anything lost from the story except for maybe like one or two actions that they take? And yeah,
okay, so
Can you give us
wait. Can I reframe that just to make sure I understand
Please.
what his definition is? So you're saying woke is not. So just to be clear, by the way, the woke came from the term from the Black community of trying to understand the, like, realities of political racism and all of the different things that have happened in history. And it's like, oh, you're woke because you have woken up to the reality, a red pilled, if you will, of the left. And then it was co-opted into woke is everything progressive. But specifically for the purpose of this conversation, my understanding is woke is when something progressive, whether that be diversity or maybe a more of a leftist progressive take, is injected only because of what it is, and not because it served the story to a greater purpose. It was just something that someone said, you know what we need a black person here, we don't have any black people. Not, hey, here's my character, he happens to be black and he is in this area. Am I understanding correctly?
I think that's one aspect of it. I would push back on the idea that wokeness can only be progressive. I think that you can even have regressive. For me, at least, when I'm going with my definition of what wokeness is,
Sure.
It's you could have priest that is one-dimensional as well. You could kind of put it down with the bad storytelling in general, bad character design, whatever. But I think that, to something that Ash had said early on in his opening statement, there is a certain corporate culture in some larger companies where people are hired and their only job and role is to make sure that there is, like, representation with X community in the game. And I think that those people do have a tendency to force the interjection of these kind of one-dimensional kind of like checklist characters in video games.
And I'm not going to deny that exists, by the way, because, like, don't get me wrong, like, I have a friend who works at Bungie, and stuff like that does happen. There are injections, and an example Charlie and I were talking about earlier was, I think it was Dragon Age, where there's a non-binary character who gets misgendered. And, like, there are so many, like, medium, like Star Trek or any, like, Outer Wilds is another one, where you have races of non-binary characters, and it just fits in the world, right? But it's specifically in this example, this character goes, you just misgendered me. And it kind of takes you out of it, because you're like, this is modern language injected into a fantasy setting, and I can see how that might be called woke. Now, my problem is, based on the prompt, that this stuff like this is so bad that it's ruining games. Seems to not really be something that I see playing out. I've never seen this be the reason it ruins games. And specifically, the way that you framed it almost seems to say that wokeness is only woke when it's bad and I don't like it. And not wokeness is a bunch of LGBT characters. Wokeness is a bunch of diversity, when those things exist in good games. So again, that's a fine definition for the purpose of this conversation. But my question is, what games have been ruined by that?
I don't know that I'd have any games that specifically were ruined only because of that. I think though that
Alright.
there are games
the debate.
well, I do have I think Concord is a good example of a game that was kind of created as a it felt like it was Overwatch,
This
but
woke
with
baby is ruining this debate right now, by the way.
there's my baby
Not
in
the
the
woke
background.
baby.
Let him have it. Look, if you need to take care of your kid, I get it, right? But
Go
yeah.
get the baby.
No, he's fine. He's in the kitchen. My office is in the garage.
Just
So
babies rolling around the kitchen.
No,
Anyway, go on, please.
Yeah, so like Concord, the kind of premise of the game seemed to be that like the prompt of why is this game being created is we want to have a hero shooter that has characters that look like us. Kind of like had those vibes going for it, and that's why like 70 people bought the game.
Is that why? Because
There's
wasn't the premise of Overwatch that, and everyone complained about Overwatch being this like woke, like body diverse game where you've got Zyra, she's
Wait, can I
muscly,
actually speak
and
to?
Mei is fat. Okay, go on. Sorry.
No, sorry. Wait, actually, you go ahead. I just.
Oh yeah, it's like what you just described, like as if that's the reason it
Mhm.
failed. Where I think Overwatch absolutely is described as like the woke version of a hero shooter, and people would always compare it to like TF2, which only has male and or whatever Pyro is characters who are mostly all white, not really that much diversity. And then it's like, well, look at all these different people from all these different places, and you've got black characters and robots, and I think there's a trans one, and all these sorts of different body types. Like that was a huge part of Overwatch's appeal, and I don't think that's why it was successful. And I think that game sucks. However, incredibly successful game that did win Game of the Year, that seems to have the exact thing you're describing for Conquered and didn't fail. My question is like, did that ruin Conquered, or did Conquered just kind of suck and had a shitty marketing team?
Well, I don't. There were some people that were complaining about wokeness in Overwatch. I don't. I feel like that was really a minority of people, even among the woke crowd.
Okay, let him deal with it. I'll step in while
Oh.
he's doing his thing.
Well, Charlie had
Go
something
ahead.
to say.
Yeah, Charlie.
So
yeah, something to say.
sorry. Thousands of hours on Overwatch, unfucking fortunately. I used to play that job like it was my goddamn job. Or I used to play that game like it was my goddamn job. Sorry.
You've been traumatized.
See how I've been traumatized by Overwatch. The thing about Overwatch is that, first of all, I guess as far as like character designs being woke or not, they have like maybe like a couple of female characters that maybe aren't designed to make your pee hard, and then every single other female character is explicitly designed to make your pee hard. So I think it's okay to have some ugly women if they're gonna, mostly just be sexy ladies. However, let's talk about Blizzard.
As long as they're not fat.
Well,
we've got enough.
Roadhog, I guess, my favorite character, one of my favorite
Is he
Overwatch characters.
I thought he was a man.
Yeah, he is, but why can
Well, Ash is saying no
only
fat
men
chicks.
can be
That's
fat?
what he's saying. No fat chicks. It's a classic
Yeah.
Tales old as time that he's
Absolutely.
expressing.
I see. As a joke, correct?
No.
What you're saying? Fat women in games ruin them?
No, I didn't say that they ruined them. I said we're talking about Overwatch specifically because Overwatch is part of this specific development to SFM to porn pipeline that we really need to keep. Like, we just need to keep that okay. We don't want to interfere
What?
with that process.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's fine. But also sometimes like okay, listen, I feel you on that. As someone who
You know what I'm talking about.
potentially indulges, I think May fits right in on that one. Anyway, moving on from that particular conversation, because that's gonna get weird. Do you guys remember all the Blizzard shit that happened with that team? I've been playing World of Warcraft since 2005. Disgusting. I know. I'm a horrible person. I have terrible taste.
No wonder you've wound up here. These are the types of life decisions, audience, right?
That World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that lead you to a WIC panel. Okay,
do you
that's
guys
where you're spending your time. But go ahead.
Do you guys not remember the Cosby Suite? So if you don't know, around like 2020, there was a big stink that was raised about Blizzard Entertainment because it came out that like sexual assault and sexual harassment were extremely normalized in the Blizzard workplace. And I think, unfortunately, a consequence of them terrorizing their female employees. What happens when that happens is like potentially an overreaction. So like what they had with the whole like diversity scoring with their characters. Um like unfortunately the games industry does have a history of being pretty gnarly to women and people who aren't white and to the gays and whatnot. And again, if we don't correct that, what you're going to see is an overcorrection that I don't even think necessarily helps women, people of color, or the gays.
Didn't they
Um,
rename McCree because there was a man named McCree that like stole milk out of a
Jesse
fridge or something?
McCree,
Jesse
that was,
McCree, yeah.
like
Which like
a
that
chronic
that
sex pest.
right, and that does seem like a virtue signal, right? Now, don't get me
That
wrong.
was virtue signaling. I think Jesse McCree
Overwatch,
was fine.
right, and Overwatch was ruined on
Yeah.
launch because it sucks. But like that is an example of maybe one of these like, oh, this is a overcorrection, a woke, thing happening. But again, prompt being, does wokeness ruin games? That's just
Oh
like a
no,
slightly
Overwatch
annoying
was
thing.
ruined by goats. It was goats that ruined it.
Wait, what?
That was like a meta. It was one of the metas for like winning in competitive. And it kind of like took DPS out of the game, and then they didn't correct it for like a year. So a bunch of people stopped
So
playing,
it
and that
wasn't
was
because May was fat.
nope.
What were they
Okay.
working on
And
in that year?
what were they working on in that year?
Yeah.
God, I don't know.
I wanna
Was it
I wanna
$0 then? No, I'm gonna jump in here because this is it's circling back again to this constant moving target of like, well, what's ruining the game? It's not the writing ruining the game. It's not these people ruining the game. It's just, these things happen to be bad. Mysteriously, there's money being shoveled into a fire in all these different departments of the game, and there's one of them that we cannot criticize because if you attack what's really a marketing department, this could be called is marketing
No,
ruining
no
games,
one
and it would
said
be
that you can't
exactly the
criticize it,
same.
Ash.
It would be exactly the
Yeah.
same because the moment I criticize these marketing departments for any kind of activity or any kind of pressure they might be exerting on the writers or the way they select bad writers, the immediate accusation is, do you just not like women in games? Do you not like gays in games? Do you not like what is going on
Well, the
there?
reason
I
that
think people
accusation
criticize
comes,
game marketing a lot.
yeah, people, first of all, no one's saying you can't criticize it, Ash.
Yes.
And second of all, the reason it comes up is because
No,
you have
if you
yet,
hold on,
you
no,
have yet,
I'm
you have,
going to
hold on,
interject
what?
here.
Well,
If you come at me with if you come at me with an accusation of you dislike these minority groups
mhm.
or you
Well, hold
dislike
on.
them in your
I
hobby
was about to explain why.
because you're coming after this marketing campaign, then yes, you are saying that I can't
Right,
criticize them
because
because the
so
consequence
far,
for doing so is being cast as a bigot.
So
Well,
far,
we're
the
debating.
reason people throw this accusation at you is not because you're like coming out and saying, "Oh boy, I hate gay people." It's because you come up with a complaint. Your complaint is that they've made these characters gay. You have a conspiratorial idea that the reason they did this was because of some evil, insidious writer, and then you don't really have a good, substantiated argument as to why this makes the game worse in any way, shape, or form. That's like it's substantial to, oh, the gameplay is bad now. I don't enjoy it anymore. It's just like at worst a minor inconvenience, and so it really does seem like you're just triggered by minorities in your game. Now, if you can substantiate it to a
Okay.
better degree, maybe. By the way, I don't know that you're like a homophobe or racist. I don't think you are, based on how to have tongue talked to you
Definitely
a couple
not.
times, right? But you might be, subject to this very heated political climate of, if I see a thing that seems like it doesn't belong, I'm going to accuse it of being woke, and that can easily turn into just being like, a black person. Like that is very much a huge part of the anti-woke culture right now.
Do
Okay.
we
So do games? No, I'm going to jump in here because it was just accused that I'm not substantiating this. So that, which is totally
Well,
fine.
well,
We need to circle back to Destiny 2 then. Is money, would you say that money in Bungie is being distributed well? Do you think that it's being used well based on the state of something like Destiny 2?
no, but not because of the wokeness. I have
Okay,
some
okay. No,
insider
no, that's
knowledge. It's
fine. You
actually a
said
lot of
it's
other
not being
problems.
distributed. Yeah, it's not, and we could go over those,
Hmm.
depending on relevance. But we would also agree that game development does not have an infinite number of resources at its disposal,
I agree.
right?
Yep.
Okay, so if some degree of the marketing department is being diverted towards social signaling, towards something that doesn't have anything to do with the game proper, or doesn't have to do with gameplay, we could say, to narrow it down, then that's in some way capping how good the game could be, right?
So again, if you have evidence that we're dedicating some such huge significant portion to woke marketing and stuff that it's detracting from what would otherwise be a much better game, I think you'd have a better argument here. But again, you're going back to
Okay, what
Destiny
kind of
2.
dollar amount would you like me to give you? Hold on, what dollar amount would you like me to give you?
No, not
Because
dollar
marketing
amount,
is not
right?
is not a
No, it's a
slim
huge.
portion
Well, hold
of
on.
game
Can I finish my
development.
question? What you need to substantiate this with is, hey, look at these games that don't have this, and they're better because of it, or a game that stopped doing it and became better because of it specifically, and not, hey, here's a shitty repetitive shooter where you go through the same dungeon over and over and over to get your +1 gear, which then becomes completely irrelevant next season, and no one fucking likes this, and everyone feels trapped inside Destiny 2. And also, they hired a woke writer who, that woke writer would have fixed this. When I specifically, and I can't prove this because I don't want to like get this guy fired, I can tell you that the reason Destiny 2 sucks and why a lot of these mechanics are awful and why the game isn't fun is a lot more to do with some other things that have nothing to do with wokeness.
What I'm attacking right now is is like this shield that people can just put up where if it wasn't there, you could say, hey, let's cut these people. They are making bad writing decisions. They are not working in the interest of gameplay. They're not making something that's desirable to their core audience or even to new audiences. It's not something that's exciting. It's not something that's going to bring me back into the game. That's going to escape bad gameplay loops or just kind of bad social habits around the game, like the with Bungie historically, it's fear of missing out, seasonal passes, it's God, the microtransactions in
I think
Bungie
those are
are
much
awful.
bigger problems than there was a gay
Yeah.
relationship, which may or may not have been really, really well written. I didn't see it, so.
I also think
Yeah,
that, like,
wasn't
if we
well
look at, I don't, again, Baldur's Gate 3 and Elden Ring, two of my favorite
Oh,
games
yeah.
ever. They were not marketed to me as, hey, there's some gay shit in this game. There's gay stuff going
Hold
on
on.
here. To be
Hold
fair,
on.
with Baldur's Gate 3, they did say you can kiss all of the characters, but it
And you can
wasn't
fuck
like
a
you're
bear.
gonna
That
kiss
was a
them.
big thing. Fucking
Is
bears.
fucking a bear woke?
Okay,
It's
but you could
fucking-
fuck a bear
was
as
a
any
huge-
gender. They said
Okay,
you could
bear
do it in
fucking-
any way. You
I'm
could
just
do you
saying
could
that
be
was.
any
I
gender.
remember that distinctly as a marketing tactic done by Baldur's Gate team. I remember watching that. I'm like, what is this game? Luckily, the game was great, even though
It was a
right?
fantastic
But
game.
it did make me worry at
Mhm.
the time. Like, where are they putting their focus here? I don't want to fuck
bestiality-
a
You're
bear.
hooking me in here. I
Is
might have to
bestiality a
define.
progressive
bear.
value?
Is
Okay,
it-
so it's not an actual, but it's a druid, and there's like this. You can have sex with the druid, and there's a kind of joke scene you can choose when you're gonna go do the do with him, where you can tell him to turn into a bear, and then it cuts away, and then a squirrel goes, and it drops its
nuts.
Yeah,
acorn.
tell me more
Yeah.
about the 5,000-year-old dragon.
What?
Pervert.
No. He's
They're
a grown
exactly the
man.
sa-
All right,
He's-
he has chest
a
hair,
bear.
and
Look,
wrinkles.
if you could, Ash, if you can fuck a bear, I would be less mad and more impressed. Okay, it's not nearly
Yeah,
the
it's very
I would
really
not. I
impressive.
would not compare this to the pedophilia. Oh, she's actually a
joke.
5,000-year-old
Like,
that has
it's
the body of a
joke.
12-year-old.
It's a
It's
goofy
a joke,
joke, and
yeah.
you don't see it. It's like it's a joke. It's a gag, which is funny. But yes, that was part of the marketing. However, these are two extremely successful games that are, I guess we could consider woke.
Yeah,
that had a
that's
lot
to our
going on
point.
with them. And the marketing wasn't, hey, this game is woke, play it because it's woke. For Baldur's Gate 3, it was like Dungeons and Dragons. Also, here's the sexy vampire, and you can have sex with a bear. Yay. Cool, great, love it. But that could be for anyone. Who knows who that is for?
Exactly.
I
It
think
could
the
be for anyone.
vampire
Nobody-
was for straight women. I think the vampire was mostly for straight women, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
Astarion?
Yeah. Men do like him, but I think Astarion is mostly popular amongst
You're projecting
women.
a little bit,
I
Charlie.
have not
Okay.
met a gay man that Astarion was not his primary romance.
Most of the gay men I know, okay, to be fair, I hang out with a lot of bottoms. And they were mostly into like Halsin and Gale. Because big bear daddy and then, hairy dork man. Whereas like Astarion was pretty twinky. You know what I mean? And so I think maybe not again, but I know a lot about them, so
So
Okay,
Deej is hanging out with
let's
cops.
reframe. Like this might be a debate for another day where we could discuss which of the Baldur's Gate 3 characters is the most fuckable.
No,
that
can
would
I
be
go back just
great.
briefly? I want
Discussion
to
You
for
jump
should
another
do
into
day.
that.
Baldur's Gate 3. I think it's
But
really
I do
important
want
for our
to
discussion.
I do
Just
want
briefly.
hold on, please.
It's right to you.
I do want to kind of pull at a thread that I think we've been dancing around a little bit in this discussion, right? And I think Ash has kind of maybe hit on it a little, but no one's really bit on this. Is the fact that like there are limited resources and two things are happening at the same time, right? One, developing companies, producers and things feel that they have to because of a lot of outside pressures, right? A lot of outside influence. They feel that they must pander, for lack of a better word, to a certain crowd, right? So they hire companies like Sweet Baby Inc. to come in and wokeify their game, make it more inclusive, diverse, make it more appealing to a certain crowd. So that's the first thing that's happening. And the second thing that's happening at the same time is games that are failing, right? Like Suicide Squad 2, right? And Concord, I think, was mentioned, and Dustborn, and there's a few others, right? Criticism of that game is, instead of like people who criticize the core mechanics are treated as bigots because they're like, oh, you just don't like black people in your game. Like, no, I just don't like this shooter. No, it's because we had black people. That must be why. And so
what
there's
game?
these like two things coming into play. Well, Suicide Squad 2, there's a lot of people who didn't like that game who were accused of being bigots. Concord, Dustborn, there's a few others out there.
Well, Wick, you would
But
grant that
it's
there
these
are a lot of
companies.
bigots who criticize this game because they hate black people, right? Just to be clear. I'm not saying everyone who criticized. By the way, Suicide Squad 2
No,
looked
that
like
would be
a piece
retarded.
of
That would
shit
be
game.
retarded and evil and acting as a agent of basically a top-down conspiracy to inject social control over other people.
No, there's like definitely like racist
You're
people
legitimate.
like in the no, you
Wait,
cannot
sure.
pretend that there are not people who are like it's a minority of people who are criticizing these games, but there is absolutely people out there who are like,
No,
yeah,
I
I
can't
don't like
pretend to
it because
care
I am
is the key.
racist.
I can't pretend to care. I can't pretend to legitimize that claim.
Wait, why?
Because it's not relevant to people who have a problem with the game being attacked as bigots reflexively to protect their marketing
Right,
departments.
and you can say that's bad. Like, hey, I can criticize
Oh,
that
I'm saying it's
suicide. Wait, hold
evil.
on.
I'm
I
saying
can
it's evil
criticize.
and
All
antisocial. It's
right. Okay.
anti-civilization. It's the method of
It's
people
the
who want
downfall of
total
Western
authoritarian.
civilization. Right. So you can talk about this
No,
idea that, like, look, Suicide Squad 2 is a bad game. It has nothing to do with the wokeness. It's because it's very, very poorly written. It's because it's got a bunch of looter shooter microtransaction garbage mechanics where, hey, if you use this gun, you get plus 0.1 armor deflection, and like no one fucking likes it. Right? This has nothing to do with the wokeness. And the whole prompt of this is if you're going to criticize these games and the wokeness is ruining it, like I think the closest you've had to a real argument, which is, hey, what happens if you have this huge amount of money and resources dedicated to a writing department that is meant to appeal to a diverse crowd in the same way that they have DEI officers at any capitalist company that's going to put a rainbow flag on Walmart in June? That might detract from what would otherwise be a better game. But my question is this actually ruining these games? Because you have yet to give an example of a game that was ruined because of something like this.
sure. Give me a definition of what counts as ruining a game.
Okay, cool. What makes a game ruined?
Hold on, are we just ignoring the latest Dragon Age? What was it? Dragon Age? It wasn't Inquisition. It
I
was.
actually
Did it do
brought it up
poorly?
20 minutes ago, Wick. So no, we're not ignoring it.
I know, but the Veilguard. Thank you, Dragon Age Veilguard. I would say Woke ruined that.
How did Woke ruin that game, Wick?
So a lot of people saw the release of the writing, which you mentioned, which was like, you just misgendered me. Saw a lot of screenshots of that, and who might otherwise have tried the game, decided not to try it, and it became toxic. It became something that no one wanted to try because it was just so off-putting.
Wait, Wick, are you telling me that the game itself might have been
did.
otherwise good, and yet the anti-woke mob was able to take control of the narrative and stop people from playing what would otherwise have been a good game because of a singular scene?
It wasn't just a single.
As we all know, the writing has nothing to do with the character or the enjoyment.
Yeah, it's
I
a
didn't
of
say
an
that.
role-playing
RPG.
game.
I never
right?
said
Yes,
that.
you
I mean,
did.
okay,
Instead
I
of the
didn't
That was
dog.
play the
that's your
game. I did
implication.
not
No,
play
that's
the
what.
game. I did not play the game. So was it poorly written and included one bad scene in which frankly a very anachronistic out of place non-binary character, well, that character was portrayed in a way that was very anachronistic. Again, like
There's
the
a
Soy Pill
through
said,
line
I
in
think
that
that
game.
you can do a fantasy race that has like a third gender or something, or has different genders in their society, and you can do it well. And you don't do it using 21st century, real world terminology. Typically, it doesn't work. It's not immersive. But
The most offensive
was
part
the
of that scene was when the character who's being misgendered just kind of stammers and goes, doesn't like say, "Hey, you fucker," that's not my, like, doesn't react properly, has this kind of Joss Whedon, I don't know, millennial hero, I cringe to use
Can I
that
read
term,
something real
but
quick? Upon release,
stammering in
Dragon
place.
Age Veilguard ranked first on Steam's global top sellers chart, reaching 85,000 concurrent players. This broke BioWare's record for the most players on Steam for one of their games. Is this a ruined game? It seems like it got pretty okay ratings, at least above average, if not 9 and 8s out of 10. Lots of people
Who
are
How
here
much
playing
money
played
did
it.
this game?
Destiny 2 make over the course of its
The idea
lifespan?
that it's
Let's say the
ruining the
first 10
game
years.
is very different
Hold
from
on, do you feel
shitty
like
games can
Dragon?
be popular, which I
Hold on, do you
totally
think
agree
that
with.
Dragon Age Veilguard was
That
a
was your defense a
success?
moment ago. Is it made money, so it was good.
No, I said that you're saying it's
Yes, it is.
ruined.
The
The
quote,
game
no,
was
the statistic
bad,
you used was its selling point
right? So you're saying
in
that if a game,
response
hold on,
to someone
no.
talking about its writing.
He's saying it's ruined because of wokeness, and I'm saying, what do you mean by ruined, right? This is incredibly popular. People seem to like it for the most part. There are these anti-woke people that are mad at what I would call
A lot of people
shitty
bought it.
writing. Like, I agree, that shitty writing, that anachronistic, like, misgender scene. But my question is, what about that ruined the game? Again, like, and we're still going back
Okay,
to
so I'm just
what does
looking.
ruin mean?
Well,
It's
one of
your
the
target. I would like you to define that.
hold on, no,
What does it count
a
for a
moment,
game to
a
be? No,
moment,
it's
please.
really important for that to be
Okay,
defined.
Right.
but
So we
go
already
by one
actually did this
metric.
in our intros, like when
I
we
have
talked
one
about
metric.
very woke games like Hades,
I have
Baldur's
one
Gate,
metric we could
Elden
actually
Ring
bite
that
on
are
here,
very
right?
good.
Okay,
The financial
quick, go,
success of a
because
game.
he's not getting.
If a game does not succeed financially, right, it may still be a good game, but that is one metric we could use to say, hey, this game flopped. This game did not do well. Dragon Age Veilguard underperformed. It underperformed by the company's metrics by almost 50%. It was expected to sell about 3 million copies. It only sold 1.5 million copies. And why does that matter? It's because when companies set metrics and those metrics don't get met, they don't continue to invest in that intellectual property. They don't continue to invest in that type of game. So if you are a Dragon Age fan, like I was, right? I love Dragon Age Origins. Great game. I even like Dragon Age 2. A lot of people didn't. Dragon Age Inquisition dragged on a bit, but I thought it was still good. Veilguard was a disappointment to me personally. I wanted that game to succeed. I wanted it to be a good, but it just failed.
And Wick,
And
I will
in
grant you
part,
that is the
it
next
did.
paragraph. I didn't get to that part, but I do see that it did underperform by half of what their expectations were. Yeah.
Yes, which again, we can use that as one metric. There are other metrics we can use, right? So I'm going to go to World of Warcraft, and this isn't woke per se, but World of Warcraft, I loved that game growing up, but they ruined it.
With
They
pandas.
ruined it after the Ice Throne, the Wrath of the Lich King. Sorry, right? They ruined it.
Yeah,
I'm
but
like,
those were mostly gameplay choices because most people were not playing. To be fair, I was a role
mostly.
player. So but also World of Warcraft always had a dog shit story. Okay, we cannot sit
That's
here and
true.
pretend that World of Warcraft had well-written lore and was a well-written
But
game.
I would
It was
argue,
dog shit. I love it with all my heart. Dog shit.
I would argue that those
Mhm.
gameplay decisions were part of the slopification of games, which I blame woke for in a lot of ways. So, for example, taking out the talent tree. I hear that they put it back later, right, in one of the most recent expansions. I don't know.
I stopped
Right?
playing after BFA.
Yeah, fair enough. But
Yeah.
after during Cataclysm, they took out the skill tree, right? The talent tree or whatever it was, right?
Mhm.
They try to streamline and dumbify and slopify the game,
Mhm.
make it a gray goo, so any character you play is just kind of a different reskinned other character. There's a lot of problems, and I think in my heart of hearts, right, that the reason that happens because they try to appeal to the lowest common denominator, and it just coincides with kind of the rise of woke.
No,
Well,
I agree
well,
with you,
hold
but
on,
I
yeah.
also think that Cataclysm was a profoundly unwoke expansion. For instance, my God, do you remember what's that area? It's Oldham, and they have like the little guys in turbans that speak in gibberish and look like caricatures of like people from the Middle East. Okay, that was crazy. And also, Chris Metzen has said in interviews that during the having like all of the Dragonflight members like Alex Straza and Ysera, he became a little bit woke because his daughters were watching the cutscenes and said to their dad, one of his daughters said, "Daddy, why are all the girls in bathing suits?" And he went, "Oh God, my daughter is sitting here and seeing, me profoundly over-sexualize female characters while not doing so to men." And now, mind you, I think World of Warcraft corrected itself in that capacity in a great way. Do you guys remember like the lead up to BFA where they had the Night Elf lady warriors in sexy little bikinis, but then they also had the Night Elf male warriors in like weird little loincloths, like just totally over-sexualized. It was hilarious and it was great. But again, like Cataclysm, yes, I agree they tried to dumb it down and make it as easy as possible so that they would make more money. So again, I think this is more of a greed thing than a woke thing because again, Cataclysm was, in a word, profoundly unwoke.
Right, and what you did there is you described for 95% of your complaint was a very shitty gameplay decision that ruined the gameplay for you, and then at the very end of that, without having given an example, you just said also woke happened at the same time, which is like, okay, so this really shitty capitalistic greedy decision ruined this thing. That makes sense. That's kind of what I'm talking about with like a lot of these games that Ash and I maybe Deej just brought up are like, yeah, these have shitty microtransactions, horrible gameplay practices, they're just greedy stupid fucking things. And also woke things happen to sometimes be in these games, but this is not what's ruining them. And again, like, did you play Veilguard? Was it bad? And if it was bad, was the game bad?
I tried the demo. The right, okay, the gameplay was fine. It wasn't anything great. But the writing just I couldn't stomach it. It was bad.
See, that might be the closest thing we have then to an example of maybe the writers. Now, I don't know if you could prove this, but maybe the writers were bad because they were hired not based on how well they could write, but because they filled some quota of diversity and they all were really bad at it and they made this really poorly written game that you didn't enjoy. And that would be an example of wokeness or a diversity quota ruining a game. Now, you'd have to prove that to me. I don't think that's the case. It could be, but that's, I think, the closest we have so far to wokeness ruining a video game in this conversation, and we're almost an hour in, so...
No, we wouldn't have to prove that at all. If
yes, you would. That's how a debate works.
Yeah, that's the point of this
you
debate,
win an
actually.
argument. That's how you win.
I'm curious where Ash is going. Ash, continue, please.
Hold on. That might be what I have to do to, I don't know, fulfill your qualifications until you move the target yet again to something else that doesn't count.
My target hasn't moved since the intro, buddy. Show me where wokeness is ruining a game. You gave me a speculation in Destiny. Yeah, ruining is when the game would have been good if not for the wokeness, right? The wokeness is what ruined the game. But for woke, we would have good game. You speculated on it with Destiny 2. Yeah, maybe if we didn't hire all these fucking woke writers who, spent all this money on all this shit that no one cares about and made the game better, maybe the game would have been better. I heavily disagree. That game sucks no matter how much wokeness. You could take the story out and the gameplay is just not good. Wick gave very close to an example that perhaps if you could show that the reason the writing of this game is so bad is because of woke, corporate, like a rainbow capitalism, yeah, maybe we could have an argument there. But again, you have to show me this, or otherwise.
I want to jump into why that's absolutely not the case. If all the examples that you're giving of capitalistic, as you called it, greed, being in lockstep with, again, these marketing decisions are what's ruining the game, then anytime I attack the capitalist decisions, I am not reflexively called a bigot. However, if I attack any portion of the game that has to do with marketing that I dislike, I'm reflexively called a bigot.
Well, we haven't called you a bigot yet, by the way.
We have, yes, you have.
Well, you did in the beginning.
We have
Did I?
reflexively. Just a moment.
I definitely might have.
You both did, but it's okay. Fine. Ash, finish your point.
Sorry, I derailed my own train of thought.
No, that was me. I'm sorry.
Basically, anytime we attack these decisions, it seems like we're catching flack over the target. So we're attacking these decisions. I actually don't need a written confession from somebody working at Sweet Baby Inc. and the marketing department of the game studio that I'm attacking to dislike it.
I
It's
don't say
something that
you do. I'm saying, can you show that it
it's in
ruined the game?
lockstep. It's appearing in lockstep with other decisions that I disagree with. So while it's true that maybe the car I'm driving out there would still suck even if it didn't have a flat tire, I'm still looking at a flat tire and saying, "We gotta get rid of this shit."
Right, and in your
But I'm
analogy, the
being called
flat
a bigot
tire,
for
the flat
looking at the flat
well,
tire.
hold on, but the flat tire in your analogy is something that is so tantamount and important to driving the car that otherwise the car will not drive. AKA, the car is ruined if that flat tire is flat. Doesn't matter if the paint job's not great. It doesn't matter if it's missing a seat. That flat tire is the thing that is not
Hold on, why
allowing you
does
to
it-
drive. So, if you could show me that wokeness is the pivotal thing, and that's why I said Wick's example is the closest, writing is so fucking important, especially in a story-driven game. And if you could show me that wokeness is the reason the writing is bad, aka the reason that game is ruined, aka the thing that would otherwise make this game good is not good, or it's ruined because of wokeness, then that is the example that I accept. I don't think you did that with Destiny. I think you could speculate on it with Dragon Age, but I still haven't heard
Yeah,
wokeness
let's
ruining
do
a
Hold on,
Dragon
game.
Age
stop,
then.
stop,
No,
stop,
let's go
because
through. Oh, no, I'm
stop.
going to
I'll give
interject,
it
but
to you
I'm
in a second.
accused
I'll
of
give it to
not
you in a
making
second,
order.
Ash. I'll give it to you in a second. I'll give you in a second. But I think he's framing this in a way that's setting us all up for failure here, setting the discussion up for failure. Okay.
No, I disagree. Let's just ask questions about
I
whether we
don't.
think it.
We don't have to say it has completely made unplayable. We just
Mhm.
have to say that without it, the game would be better.
That's it. That's a pretty low bar.
That's it. I mean, but
Well,
we
but your
want
bar
better
is also
games.
Yeah, because we're talking
Incrementally
about
better is
entertainment.
good.
Yeah,
It's
but
very
if
low
it's like,
bars that we have to cross over to let people pass, like
well, if
what's
we're
called the
Okay,
refrigerator
so what
test.
is
If the
what
movie works on you in the moment, it doesn't matter if later at night you open the refrigerator, you go to get a snack, and you think, "Hang on, that didn't make sense."
look,
Doesn't matter.
if I play
The movie
Dragon
worked on
Age
you
and
anyway.
99% of the time I'm having an amazing time, the writing's great, I'm like, wow, this game's amazing. At the very end, or even at some point in the middle, I see that scene that I didn't like that was like, oh, that was a weird injection of like misgendering into a place where it doesn't really belong. That didn't ruin the game for me. I had a great time. That was like one tiny demerit on what would otherwise be a fantastic experience. So if it's just, it would have been better without it, I mean, yeah, there's plenty of like shitty writing that might be woke writing that I could say, yeah, that shouldn't have been in and the game would have been better. But then to say that this is ruining games is a completely different thing to prove. And like, if your bar for proving ruination is that, hey, sometimes people who are woke do write poorly, it's like, yeah, of course, there's lots of shitty writing in lots of games. But I could point to like 8,000 other examples of non-woke writing that's just really, really bad depictions of female characters. And it would be like, oh, what are you, a triggered feminist? It's like, no, this is just shitty writing and I don't like it. And I wish it was written better. However, the game might be really good. So
Okay. I need to read some super chats because people have been paying me money, and I'm going to read these super chats
Oh,
real
yeah.
quick, and then we're going to pass it to Ash, and we're going to keep on trucking, gang. $10 from Zephyr Hash to say this. I just got done playing Cyberpunk, which is one of the most beautiful games ever made, both in visuals and story. But they let my woman character have a pee-pee and also kiss other women. Hence, 0 out of 10. Thank you for the $10. $5 from Zephyr Hash. Witchers are treated poorly in the world of The Witcher 3. It triggers my racism radar. They inserted real-world issues in a fantasy game. 0 out of 10. Thank you for the $5. $2 from the Zephyr Hash to say, why does anti-woke guy look like a woman? 0 out of 10.
yeah,
$50
debate
from
ruined
hair.
for injecting womanly characteristics into this.
$50 from Deej
A
Nuts to
fat
say we don't
woman,
want
no
no
less.
woke
I need
wick,
to.
uncensor wick. Thank you for the $50.
51.
$5 from Mori Momento to say it was carried heavily by the success of Inquisition. $10 from Jake and Bake to say if you think Assassin's Creed was a good franchise before they added Yusuke, the Black Samurai, you have no idea what a good game looks like. Those games shipped boring and broken since Black Flag. And then $10 from Blahiki Blah to say we need to define what is good or bad game during this discussion. I think that decreasing the blatant gooner horny of gaming makes gaming less good as a whole. But I don't think Soy Pill would agree. Now, Charlie said something interesting earlier about World of Warcraft and how they went away a little bit from the over sexualization of females in that. A lot of people
Wait, I'll be right
who
back.
the
Sorry, go
Gooner
ahead.
gamers would say that ruined games, right? That ruined it for them. A lot of people was like, I wanted my TNA in that game, and now the wokes took it away from me, and I can't see the dancing night elf on the mailbox anymore.
Well, you can't. They did. That is still in there. But what World of Warcraft did is, yes, they stopped kind of like heavily over sexualizing female characters in comparison to male characters. But again, like my example with the sort of like burning of Teldrassil thing, before BFA was released, is that they had both the male and female night elf warriors of Teldrassil in weird, sexy little outfits. And I thought that was frankly gamer equality, because what I think gaming studios need to realize is that women goon too. Okay? And so, and I think it's totally fine. All right, Resident Evil 8 Village. Lady D. Oh my God. Holy mother of God. That was great. Loved that. They had a big giant MILF vampire woman with big boobie and big butt, and she pins you up by your hands and is like calling you man thing and telling you she's gonna. Oh my God, loved it. So I don't think I don't think games need to be like severely degooned. I think that what gaming companies need to understand is that the gooner market is very diverse, and they can make lots of money appealing to many different kinds of gooners.
Sorry
But
about that.
don't
I
you
left my
think-
that's
baby
my
face
2
down in an
cents.
inch of water and it wouldn't
But
stop crying.
don't you think that there was a concerted effort among, especially like Western corporate games journalism and in the industry in general, to essentially tamp down and almost nip in the bud like all or a huge portion of the goonerism? Like when you look at
Yeah.
games that have the gooner bait today, they're pretty much all coming from Eastern developers. And so at least in the West, I think there is a good argument to be made that wokeness was impacting the ability of Western developers, at least the corporate ones, to put that type of goonerism into
Now,
their games.
I
Obviously
wouldn't
not
say that
all,
that's
but there was a large amount.
wokeness. I wouldn't say that's wokeness. That's because children are the most profitable market out there.
Yeah,
And so
but
anything that makes something hard to market to children, they want to remove from games, which sucks. And
I
we
can-
see it all over the internet. I mean, like on Twitch, on YouTube, everywhere. They want to sell things to children, and so everything, you have to be able to advertise to kids. It sucks, but
Charlie,
it's
I think we can
a
bite
lot of-
this bullet, Charlie. I do think that a lot of the getting rid of gooning stuff is due to this like pushback from objectifying women, which is considered woke, funnily enough. But I would actually agree that is like, yeah, you're not wrong about the marketing to children thing, but it is very much a like
there was a
there's
feminist push,
of
I think.
as more women are introduced into this space, like they're like, hey, this is fucking weird, because it is the way that women are portrayed in a lot of older video games, and it's like, hey, can we maybe do rid of this? It might do better. I you can call that woke. Now, I will say that makes a lot of games a lot better because of that. So that's like almost the opposite. So
I mean,
Yeah, the
I think
feminist
that
movement back
what
then,
it's
just briefly, was sort of in lockstep with people who just wanted more taste. I guess just wanted gamers to develop taste. I think the Warcraft example is great. Like I haven't played Warcraft. But there's like the Drow, the Dark Elves in Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. They're all in like BDSM gear 24/7. And sure, it's part of the writing, but it's also just kind of like tasteful. Like, hey, if you guys want to go underground and you want to fight these people who are generally evil, they're all going to be in BDSM gear, and so you get like, I guess, tasteful nudity or tasteful lewds, and it was perfectly reasonable for the feminists to be in lockstep with them, right? It was perfectly reasonable for people who just wanted a little bit more taste to be like, okay, Ashley from Resident Evil doesn't have to be 800 pounds, but maybe which would be more
I've
realistic.
downloaded a couple mods.
Isn't she like a child?
Yep, thank you. So
Is
it's
Ashley not
okay for
a
her to
child?
not be 800 pounds. However, we don't need developer commentary about like what happens if you angle the camera so you're looking up her skirt. That was just weird.
Wait,
Wait,
I'm
I'm
confused.
sorry.
Didn't
What?
they take that out in
What?
the remake because it was weird
They
that
did-
people
yeah,
were trying
they
to look
took
at the
that out.
panties of a child?
Yeah,
I-
because
oh,
that
No,
was a
it's
little
good that they
girl.
took that out.
Where are we?
So, okay, in Resident
Okay,
Evil
go
4, in
on.
the original game, you could angle the camera in such a way to look at the underage character's underwear and also look at them while you're like climbing up a ladder behind her, I believe. And it was like, I think she'd even have a line that'd be like, "Don't peek, Leon," or something. And in the remake,
Yeah,
they have since removed that, which I think did not ruin it.
I would agree. It didn't ruin it. We were just talking
But it
about
is
it
kind of
made sense
woke
for.
to be anti child
Uh,
objectification.
sure, sure. Again, the
Like
people who want to
we're all
like
against
paste
that,
in
right?
video
Like
games.
Yeah.
Can we all agree?
we don't like teenage we don't like children
It's
No,
a
we
it's
do
a
being
not.
little
sexual. We're
it's a
against that.
little Japaneseophobic to say that though, Charlie.
All right. All right.
Well,
Very
I'm going to
so
come out with the
but
big brave stance that we are against it. But go ahead.
Which
Dee.
stop. Okay, word.
so I think that though that was more indicative of a general movement in video games to do that across the board, and that wasn't just specific for Resident Evil 4, because there's been a lot of people like Grums that complains about that on basically every single game that does come out, where like once people figure out you can clip the camera down to see some panty, it's like within the next patch or whatever, or the next game, it's taken away. I think though, to a certain extent, that woke idea was not effective because it just kind of emboldened the opposite side to just go all in on making things even more goonery.
Can we go back
And
to
now
the
you
games
end
that
up
we
with
like
gachas
Baldur's
with
Gate
like
3?
everything. What's that?
And can we go back to like Baldur's Gate 3 and like we all agree that this game, it sounds like we all agree that this game is great. It has some progressive ideals, but it's fantastic. It has a lot of depth. The writing
Do you
in
notice we
most
just said
cases is
it has
excellent.
progressive ideals, but it's good? As like implying that those progressive ideals are making it worse. Is that do you think that?
I'm trying to remember if there was anything about taxes in Baldur's Gate 3. Give me a moment. There was a lot of it.
By the way, I just have to point
I'll
out
bite the bullet
quick.
and I'll say that even if Baldur's Gate 3 advocates for heavy taxes, that it's still a good game.
Okay. Do you think taxing is woke?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
All
If the
right.
anti-woke
So the
people put
reply.
like half their energy, no, seriously, no. Going back to Baldur's Gate 3, we agree that this is good. It has good writing, good gameplay, good mechanics. These are sort of working in sync, and it wasn't advertised as or sorry, the diversity of the developers did not become a feature of the game, even if it was a feature of the development. We could agree on that.
I've never seen games or at least in my I've never seen a game. Can you what games were advertised as like the diversity of the developers being key? Because I haven't run into that, I guess, in my not saying that it doesn't exist. I would just
Okay.
like an example, you know?
Yeah, I agree because
Yeah,
I
I
hear
go
about
back
this
to Destiny
on.
2
adjacently.
in this case.
Okay, I want to give it to Dee. She's just trying to get in, but I think the biggest example of that is that at least the producers think that it needs to have diversity in the game, and so they hire diversity consultants, such as Sweet Baby Inc. That was the whole controversy. Sweet Baby Inc. was hired by by the producers to come in and basically have a say in the writing and have a say in the portrayal of the characters in order to quote unquote wokeify the cast and the
So
writing. That was
I can't speak to Sweet Baby Inc., but sometimes I don't think that that's necessarily the worst thing in the world. Especially like okay, like for instance, when I was writing a bunch on Elden Ring in a scholarly capacity, the one of the first people I went to was one of the people in my graduate program, my friend Suguru, because he is Japanese and his whole thing is he did a lot of, you know, scholarly work on like Japanese games. And I was like, "Hey dude, do you have any input on like, I don't know, like Christianity in Japanese media because there's a lot of like, you know, Christian symbolism in Elden Ring." And he was like, "Yeah, dude, let me help you out." That was technically, I guess, me kind of, you know, consulting a not what did you call it? A diversity what?
A diversity consultant.
Diversity reader?
Yeah.
Diversity consultant?
Consultants.
But
yes.
it could be considered that that is something that I did because I wanted to ensure that I was,
It was.
fully understanding
counts.
the subject. That counts. Yes, I did. So I did, consult a diversity reader so that I could have better analysis of the game that I was writing about. And I think that I don't typically write fiction myself. It doesn't really interest me too much to write it. I like to talk about it. If I were to write, a character that is very unlike myself and that I have very little experience with people of this culture or from this lifestyle, I would be like, well, let me do some research. Let me talk to some people who do know a lot about this because you want to be a good writer. You want to be like, if you're going to write a book about World War II, you should talk to historians that study World War II. You know what I mean? Like,
I do.
right?
The
Right?
problem,
Don't you want to go to the experts?
the problem is where you might want to go to the experts if you have a writing team that is said, hey, we're going to tell this story. And then the producers of the game are like, you know what? We need to appeal to a wider audience. So we've hired Sweet Baby Inc. to come in and make sure that your characters and your story appeals to a more diverse audience, right? Like wider appeal that it has these things. So they come in and they fuck with your characters, they fuck with your writing, they fuck with your story. It can be a problem. Do you understand how that could be at least
Yeah,
somewhat
absolutely.
Could
frustrating
be,
for
but
the
did
I
it?
writing?
feel like
Could,
they do that in the opposite way as well. Like, I mean, historically, like I think across media, like haven't narratives been changed to make things less, especially during times in which, it wasn't acceptable to be gay or whatever, like have changed characters in writing to make it so that they were not openly some sort of minority or
yeah, like in
you know what I mean?
300, how they're not all having sex with each other when they
Yeah,
totally
they're
would have
not
been.
having sex with each other. Or like what was the Brad Pitt adaptation
Troy,
of
yeah.
Achilles? And it was Troy and like, what is it? Starts with a P. Blah, blah, blah. His boyfriend,
Pericles?
Pericles, the guy that they were fucking and that the Greeks and the Romans were having like wars over like who was the top and who was the bottom. It really matters. Because it did matter to them. Like that was the same thing as that was producers going, this will make us money if these guys are fucking their cousins now. Is that not the same thing? And I feel like that has more so been an issue than now being like, hey, you need to put a black person in this
Yeah, it's not your
so that it will sell
wokeness not
more.
being the problem. It's artistic integrity being ruined by people trying to make money, which is a completely different thing. I mean, not
Okay,
different. It
but
encompasses woke injection for sure, but not exclusive to wokeness at all.
It just happens to be in lockstep with it right now.
Well, also, like, can you
Like, how
point to
long
like
ago was
which?
Troy made?
Like 20 years
This was
probably.
the 2000s.
Yeah, but maybe Wick, maybe
Yeah,
because I'm looking at like a list of games that Sweet Baby Inc. has worked with, and like one of them is that really shitty Suicide Squad game. Now I think that game was dead on arrival based on the gameplay mechanics, but like I don't know, they helped with Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, like some games that are like, yep, these are considered good games to my understanding. God of War Ragnarok, I
Alan
think
Wake 2 rocks.
like God of
Yeah,
War
I think
Ragnarok, I think as well. Although I know everyone was
Yeah.
mad they made a goddess, a Nordic goddess black, right? So I don't know. Is that
And then
ruined?
Thor was
Were these
fat.
games? Yeah, Thor was
Alan
fat.
Wake.
Were any of these games ruined
Uh,
because of diversity consulting?
see,
Alan Wake 2 had a pretty rough launch. It was pretty buggy. There were a lot of gameplay issues with Alan Wake 2.
Because of the diverse cast of characters, or because it was poorly made?
Sure.
the
I mean, we're
the
just
thing
going back to like
is
what counts as ruin.
the Sweet Baby Inc. was involved in the games that you mentioned, God of War, Spider-Man, and it was successful, or those games were successful. But I think that a lot of that can just come down to the studio bringing them on in more of a consultant role rather than as like a what would it be called? Like
Well,
treating
here
them properly like
they
a
were
consultant.
major script writers on the Suicide Squad game, to be fair. And on these other ones, they were consultants. So like they had a higher. It looks like they had a bigger role in the shittier game for sure. Now again, I don't think I've actually watched some scenes from that game that I'm like, that would be good in a better game. But I think the gameplay is what made that game shitty, not the writing. But that's just me.
But
Yeah, well,
go ahead,
Rick.
please.
But that does go to the point of, like, generally speaking, like, when you have people whose sole role is that representation, and they are taking a lead role in a key element of a game, you're going to end up with that sort of sloppiness manifesting all throughout that role and leaching into other things as well.
But how do you
Now,
know
obviously,
that? Like, what if we could show you? Like, what if I found proof that Baldur's Gate 3 had diversity consultants and it actually put all these romances in the game that people really liked? Would you then say that wokeness made that game better? Or would you say that wokeness doesn't always ruin games, bad writers ruin games, sometimes they're woke? Because that's kind of our position.
so if you're just like getting the opinion of somebody to better understand something from the perspective of a minority group, that's one thing. If you're bringing someone on who their sole like responsibility is to cater to those minorities, it's different. Like, okay, let's say you're writing a book, right? And you have a character that is some identity that you have a difficult time understanding. You could write that character to the best of your ability and then consult someone who actually represents that identity, and take their experience and their recommendations to recraft that character a little bit to better represent them, while maintaining the core function of who that person is outside of just that identity.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to instead outsource it to a contractor whose job is identity and politics in video games, and then tell them, rewrite this character for me to identify better with a crowd, they're going to write that character probably pretty crappily and do literally what you said and write that character to identify with that group.
So in both of these hypotheticals, I completely understand where you're coming from. But like, for example, if I have read Charlie's writing and if I said, Charlie, write me a woke character, I guarantee you Charlie could write me a good woke character. So like the idea that inherently, because it's a consulting company that's meant to do something to appeal to a minority group, will make it bad. I just don't fully buy into that. If that's always the case, I have yet to see that. I guarantee you could show me some examples of it being that way, but that's not because of the wokeness. That's because of bad writing. It's because, and even injecting the agenda itself is not what's making the writing bad. It's the fact that they are there to do something completely adjacent to what the initial artistic integrity was, right?
Sometimes, though, the wokeness can be what makes the character bad. Like,
I agree, 100%. I agree. Well, you don't have to
Okay.
give me an example. I gave an example of, like, yeah, that the woke, like the misgendering thing in Dragon's Age, that was bad writing, and it was because of a woke idea of let's put misgendering as a concept into this game anachronistically. Versus, you could have the exact same woke concept, which is not misgendering someone, which has happened in Star Trek, it's happened in all these other cases, but they may do it in a way that makes sense in this universe. It doesn't suck you out. It doesn't feel like you're having politics injected. Even it's directly analogous to a real life woke agenda, right?
I wanna broaden the discussion from video games specifically to other games, board games, role playing games, TTRPGs, right? And we could even do media in general and things like that if we want. But let's stick to the board games and things. I know Ash has a lot of board game opinions, right? Can you give us some examples of where you feel wokeness has influenced things like Dungeons and Dragons or other TTRPGs that you find to be negative? Go ahead.
It's tricky because I mostly just have examples of people who are woke working on games and actually doing it very well. Lancer is awesome. Pathfinder Second Edition is awesome. Dungeons and Dragons Fifth Edition kind of sucks. Reboot kind of sucks. Didn't really like it. Was very happy to stop working on Fifth Edition products by and large. God, that's tricky. That's really tricky because I think it goes down to this. I think our core disagreement when we talk about things, whether or not something is being ruined, is kind of like a top-down. If we just remove this little bit of writing, if we remove this one scene, then it would be good. It's only one tiny little demerit or one tiny mark against a wider whole. But I'm a developer. I'm a designer, so I have a very ground up approach to these things where I'm looking at them as on the high end of complexity, like a living organism, at the baseline, like a machine. baseline, irreducible complexity. At the very least, it's a machine. It's an engineering product. It has to work. The concept of it has to work is foreign to a lot of people, but I get very autistic about it. So when I'm looking at these projects and I'm looking at different failure points, I mean, it's why I brought up the wheel analogy from earlier. I could use a less obvious part when it comes to a car, but hey, if you damage these parts, it doesn't matter if it kind of works okay or if it only failed at one point and was only a minor demerit. If the total of your experience in the total of your experience, this flat tire only affected a minority of your drive time. It doesn't matter. It's the obvious, visible problem. And so it needs to be fixed before you can go into the rest of the vehicle, before you can diagnose what's wrong with the rest of this machine. Again, at the baseline, irreducible complexity.
For sure. I think that's a better way to say it. And so then I would ask for an example of a game where the wokeness is prominent enough, where the agenda, the progressive woke agenda is so prominent that you otherwise would have enjoyed it but for this wokeness, right? Like, yeah, maybe it's not the ultimate thing that like completely demolished the gameplay that was
I'm
good.
explaining that's
but
why it's
it
not
makes
my
it
standard.
No. I'm saying it sounds like in this new analogy, you're saying, look, like the game still works, but if it wasn't in this, like you really have to address this part. This sticks out like a sore thumb, right? Like, do you have an example of that?
It sticks out like a sore thumb. That does not mean that the rest of it works. Was the point of my analogy?
Oh,
there.
okay, understood.
It's because it sticks out that I have to focus on it. I wish I wasn't focused on it. I would prefer to remove it, swap it out as quickly as possible, and do the deeper differential diagnosis basically on this machine. Because if I look at something like Destiny 2, if I remove that one writer, who I kind of feel bad for, because I feel like the company offered him up to answer a way earlier question, kind of offered this guy up like a sacrificial lamb and said, look, we have this diverse writer. He's responsible for this very specific storyline between these two characters who broadly didn't appear much throughout the story previously to Destiny 2. My experience was probably ruined more by just hearing people complain about it broadly. But they did a very persuasive good job complaining about it and talking about how previously it was this, deep platonic bond, this brotherly bond, which, I'm not that old. I just turned 28. It's here and there when it comes to media that I'm consuming, and maybe I'm just not looking for it hard enough. But I need an excuse to look past it to get to attack the rest of Destiny 2.
Can I give an
Whereas these other
example?
people don't.
I think we need a more concrete example. First of all, $10 from Blahiki Blah to say woke in D&D ruins D&D for me. Removing always evil races makes a fantasy less enjoyable for me, and the flattening of races for the purposes of saying quote unquote all types of people groups are the same sucks. That's a good example. Another example, combat wheelchairs. Do you guys know about combat wheelchairs in D&D? Right? People who insist, and there's this product that came out recently, actually, Daggerheart by the Critical Role guys. It has a whole section on combat wheelchairs about wheelchairs that adventurers who go into dungeons, they're handy capable, right? And they're perfectly able to be their heroic selves, but they just happen to be in wheelchairs. And some people are just insistent that this must be a thing.
Okay, hold
And
on.
that's
Hold
woke.
on. Yeah, that's potentially woke, but the thing is that
Super woke.
it also makes sense. In Overwatch, for example, there were many characters who were missing limbs. Because when you are putting yourself in bodily danger all the time, you're probably gonna lose some limbs or something will happen to you. Now, the idea of a combat wheelchair, I don't know about that. But some sort of a character with a fake leg or a fake
prosthetic
arm,
weapon,
would you
yeah.
consider that some sort of prosthetic? Like, is that going to be? I don't think that that's bad necessarily. I think that that can lead to some interesting character backgrounds. I don't know what these combat wheelchairs look like, but I don't know.
Hold on, I'll
Yeah,
find
wait.
you a picture. Hold on.
It's in a
Give me a
it's
second.
in a world.
The combat wheelchairs are literally just wheelchairs that you roll around in. Here's the thing. if it was like, like it's a levitating chair like Xavier, or
Yeah, that
like,
would make
I mean,
sense.
or like a
to your point, they
steampunky
have
like
prosthetics.
automaton. Like don't those exist in D&D and
Or
they couldn't put
yeah,
wheels on it? Like
Yeah, that's
spider
kind of
centaur
goofy.
legs or
yeah.
something like that, right? But like, why specifically,
I
like
put
in
it
this
in the group
fantasy
chat.
world where
You guys,
you
hold on.
can
Let me
have
actually show the
Yeah,
the
can you do
stream.
you want to screen share this or
Here, I'll just show it this way. You guys see it? On stream.
what about us? What about
Oh,
your
I
your
DM'd it
beautiful
You
to
get to
you.
look
You're
at
gonna
it.
make me
Okay.
click? Oh.
Now this is
That's
I
a
will
combat
say
wheelchair.
this is kind of that. Yeah, that's silly.
that does
It's
look
woke.
really stupid. Yeah, okay. Here, no, okay. If this is the
Yeah, this is a good
disabled
example of
or
that.
excuse
This is
me,
dumb.
the differently
Like, let's make
abled
sure the
community.
dungeons are wheelchair accessible, right? Like that dragon
Yeah,
that built his lair, it has a ramp so you can make sure you can
And
go
like this
down.
is
Like,
yeah,
and
this
it can't be
this
more
is
than 4 degrees.
yeah, and this breaks immersion. But again, like something sort of like a levitating chair or I don't know. I'm not super. I do play D&D, but I'm not deep in the lore or
that's
whatever.
just because you haven't played a proper D&D game. One day I'll host a game for you and role play, right? And
I hope you will.
yeah,
You better.
actually.
But again, like this is yeah. Oh, someone in my chat just said floating disc was how we used to do it. That makes sense. Yeah, that's chill. In my D&D game right now, we found a magic carpet which we have with us. And we're in a carriage, but some of us were sitting on the magic carpet because why not? It's fun. And you can play lookout from there. So, that's chill. But as far as we actually had a huge discussion about ontologically evil races a couple weeks ago, which I have many opinions about. Which I could recommend some reading if you guys would like from, kind of the primitive fantasy scholars, on why it's. I mean, frankly, it's less interesting to have, intelligent creatures that are by nature evil. I think it is more interesting for cultures and beings to be complex. I think that I think it's a cop out, and I think it's lazy when you just have big bats that are intelligent but somehow innately evil. Like then there's not really. It just sucks. It's boring. I don't like it. I think it's boring. I like complex villains because I'm someone that loves villains. That's why I hate
Wait,
Frieren. I think
maybe
Frieren
I can push
sucked.
back on
Fuck
Charlie
Frieren.
here. Charlie, you love Lord of the
Okay.
Rings, and is there a single
Yeah.
complex orc in the entire trilogy? I haven't finished the books, but in the movies, they're just pure evil, right?
No, they're pretty much well, and again, that is what I talked about. And again, that is actually something that J.R.R. Tolkien throughout his life struggled with his portrayal of orcs because they were so innately evil, and he found that concept of like inherent evil to be against his religious beliefs.
But they were
So
still good. They weren't ruined because of it, right?
the orcs were. I don't like that part of Lord of the Rings. I don't. I think that there are some parts where the orcs are written to be slightly more.
That's a lot of the Lord of the Rings.
So there's sorry, I was thinking specifically of when they're in Minas Ithil passing through that area, and then we see a conversation between two orcs, in which they're talking about why they're fighting, what they're fighting for. And you get this second where they're like, yeah, we actually would really like lands of our own and don't really want to work for Sauron and Saruman. And then you're like, oh my god, wait, these are complex beings with thoughts and feelings and different motivations. And then they're like, haha, it's funny when our friends get stuck in Shelob's lair and we like to watch them die. Then it's like, all right, there we go. Like then it's gone. So, and
Very
again,
complex portrayal of evil that makes people very uncomfortable.
I
a
just have to
complex
say,
portrayal of evil.
Oh yeah.
I have to push back on the Frieren slander. While the demons are ontologically evil, they're far from like one-dimensional, and it's actually very entertaining to delve into their psychology.
When do they get more interesting? Because I watched like 12 episodes of it and I was bored to tears the entire time.
So
does it take a while?
I don't know if the anime's gotten to the point, but there is this El Dorado city where basically there's this demon with magic that can turn like anything into gold. And he actually tries to live among humans and understand them. But he still essentially is incapable of doing it. But it's very entertaining.
Can I go back to this wheelchair
Gotcha.
thing, Wick? Because I want to talk. This is
Please.
a perfect example, I think. Because this,
Oh,
like
yes,
this
please.
image you shared, chat can't see it, but just it's like literally if you took a wheelchair from today, pretty much, except they drew some runes on the spokes and then threw it in, and it's like this looks so fucking out of place. And so the answer is here though. Did wokeness ruin this, or did what happened is someone said, "Look, we need an agenda of we need more disabled representation in this universe," right? Which Charlie and I think everyone agree there could be some very completely understandable examples of this. A guy whose legs don't work or whose legs were blown off by a trap in a dungeon who uses a magic carpet, who has automaton legs, who has some sort of magic in-universe solution to this, which could all be woke, diverse representations of disabled people that fit chronistically in this universe. And I think most people probably wouldn't even notice that if this was an injection of an agenda versus a very obviously like modern day wheelchair thrown into this fantasy setting that looks so fucking stupid and out of
You know
place.
why they have it there?
Maybe because they were trying to fit an agenda of like having more
Because
disabled people, right?
certain players complained that they wanted it there, and they wouldn't stop complaining until they got their way. It's why they redid a lot of Magic the Gathering cards too, right? Like
Yeah, they got rid of the
banned or
prejudice and
redid a lot of the more quote unquote racist.
Did you see Tim Pool? He has the whole racist collection. I don't know if he showed you. By
Yeah,
the way.
I was there, right?
Yeah.
Right. And we.
I mean, was
he had
it?
these
I'm
little-
not familiar with Magic the Gathering. Was it?
There's the Jihad card, there's a Crusade card, and there's like some pretty racist ones. There's one called Invoke Prejudice, where first of all the artist is actually turns out he's kind of like some sort of super ultra right racist guy, and he the card number he made on it was 1488, so 14 words, 88 HH.
Oh my god!
and
Okay,
all of the,
get rid of that one.
if you Google Invoke Prejudice, the card itself, which actually is a really good card, sucks that it's banned. The characters are like in KKK hoods, but they're like these kind of shades,
What?
and it's like this
on.
one's a little different. Some of the ones they do ban, which by the way, I would say this is you could say this is wokeness, ruining Magic the Gathering, are silly overcorrections where it's like there's a card that says destroy all black creatures, which if you don't know in Magic, there's 5 colors. One of the colors is black, and they're not black people. There are black people who are black creatures, but there are also black people that are white creatures, and there are black people that are green creatures. And the thing is just like, hey, destroy all creatures of this color, and they're like, oh, but it says black creatures, that could be racist. And that's silly. I mean, that is a silly overcorrection, but it didn't ruin Magic.
That is what we're talking about, right?
Right, but again, this is our whole point from the
beginning.
That
makes it worse.
But that's not wokeness ruining it. That's really bad writing. And I could say the exact same thing about, hey, when you put these very overly bimbofied female characters in your game, I don't think that is traditional gender roles ruining gaming. I think that's really bad writing, injecting this idea of like horniness and bimbofication into the thing. It's like wokeness is not the problem here. The problem is not diversity. The problem is not progressivism. It's none of that thing. It's very, very poor implementations of said thing. And even then, like I said, it's not really ruining the game.
The woke isn't forcing the big titty goth girlfriends into the D&D. The woke is preventing me from putting boobs on lizards and dragons and all these things. They won't let me do it. The woke is keeping me.
Okay, I don't like that because they're reptiles and they're not mammalian. They don't breastfeed. Why would they have boobs?
See what I mean? You are ruining dragons. We could have
I just don't think they need
dragons flying through the skies, but you have to ruin it.
The lusty Argonian
I'm not a scaly. I'm sorry. I'm not a scaly. I don't want to fuck the reptiles.
This comes around to this thing where I think Soy, you're trying to pin wokeness as only when it's interjecting wokeness into things. I think actually what we see
no. So wait, can I clarify? That's the opposite of what I'm doing. What I'm saying is you care and complain when it's interjected in a way that's poorly implemented, but you don't really seem to care when it's good, which means wokeness is not the delimiting factor here. It's bad writing.
All right. Well, my main actually argument about wokeness ruining video games is not what is being put into, it's what it's taking away from. Okay. You have a whole media apparatus and corporate structure in the West, especially, that is suppressing certain ideas in video games because, oh, if you have a big-breasted woman, that's bimbofication. We can't do that. Give her a flat chest. Boob slider, your choices are no cup or very, very itty-bitty A cup. If you want to have like your character be traditionally gendered, can't do that. You got to do body types, even if it doesn't make sense narratively, because people still refer to you with your gender.
Why can't
So-
body type B take their top off? Well, because body type B is female.
Yeah, like there
That's why we get you.
are
It's very
there
funny.
are things where, and I think actually wokeness manifests itself more in, like for instance, the whole thing about I can't remember the exact details, but I remember reading an article about how certain games journalist companies would not give as good of ratings for games unless they, met certain diverse criteria that they wanted in them. Even if it didn't make sense narratively for that to be there. And so I think that really where wokeness does come from is not the inclusion of things into the games. It's punishing games that try to include things that are considered not woke or not progressive enough for current year.
Okay, I understand that.
I wanna
What games
circle
had
that back.
booby sliders before? Because okay, my whole thing is I've only ever played games where it was like you play male or female or whatever, and they usually only give you one type of booby size because I think like on a literal like coding level, mind you, I'm not a coding person, I'm not a tech person. Wouldn't it be annoying to have to adjust every single outfit to accommodate every single body shape and size? Like that just seems
That's what
complicated. You know what I
meshes
mean?
are
And then they would want the like, but then they'd want the like booby physics and the jiggle physics, which doesn't that get complicated? Wouldn't that get
But we
annoying?
do complicated things in games all the time.
Yeah, but why? Just to
There's-
make someone's pee-pee hard? Like, I'm not playing Elden Ring because I want to fucking come. I'm playing it because I want to kill.
Well,
If
you know what I mean?
Grums made
clearly
a game,
sells.
hold on, let me
it-
jump in. If Grums made a game, Mark Kern, disgraced video game developer who can only whine on Twitter nowadays, I'm going to cut myself off from any potential.
Tried to get
having
him
a
on the
check later
panel,
on.
right? But unfortunately,
He was
it
too
didn't work
busy
out.
He was too
gooning.
busy tweeting and
Oh.
not working on Ember. If
that
Mark
was
Kern
streaming.
finally released his non-existent video game project called a mech game called Ember, and it sucked, and it had a but he makes as part of the marketing campaign, as he's done, like, oh well, all the pilots are beautiful, and look how big their tits are,
Mhm.
look at how much they jiggle, stuff like that. And if he took criticism of the game or said, hey, Mark, why did you focus so much on this aspect of customization when the rest of your game that you've been working on for 10 years sucks? He would say, what are you, some kind of feminist? What's the matter with you? You don't like beautiful women? And we would all understand on this panel, I hope, that the problem isn't whether or not you might be critical. Sure, you might just hate big tits in video games. But the core of the criticism is the rest of this sucks. And I know that you didn't do a good job on it. And so I am forced to wonder, since you put so much effort into this other thing that didn't improve the game, whether or not it might have been better had you not done it. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't say for sure. I don't need a written confession from Mark to say that he's being a cunt.
Right.
I know he's
So-
being a cunt.
Wait, this goes
Well,
back
but
to the
that's like-
whole thing, right? You can, if you could show, and I think you can, because Grums documents a lot of the development. You can see different releases that he does spend entirely, well, actually, not very much time on making the character solid because they all look the same in this really shitty pilot game, which I guess ostensibly you shoot cubes or something because he hasn't created enemies yet. Yeah, that game may or may not be bad because of him dedicating too much time to making it a Gooner game. Now, again, your go-to example for this was Destiny 2, where a writer was writing about a gay relationship, maybe for a diversity thing, and somehow you don't know, but you suspect that if they hadn't paid that one guy, they could have paid a different coder to make a better gameplay mechanic, which is a very high bar of proof. You don't need a crystal ball. You need to show, hey,
No,
like
does it-
when they didn't do this, maybe there was a Sweet Baby Inc. consulting company they brought on like 3 seasons in. The gameplay was way better, and now they don't focus on the gameplay as much. Like, I think you'd have a better argument there.
If it didn't go to that guy, it could have gone to somebody better. It also could have gone to somebody worse. I've been stripped of that ability to even imagine a better future because
I mean, do
they
you
made
think
a
it was
bad
poorly
choice.
written? Was
I
it
think he, yeah.
poorly written?
Because he was
Oh,
saying
yeah.
like they were not gay; they were very
Okay,
strongly
But
platonic.
imagine if it wasn't, if you didn't know about the characters beforehand and it just ended up being two dudes who were gay. Was it bad? Was it a bad
There are other
story?
gay
Was it poorly
relationships
written?
in Destiny too. Anna Bray is a good example. Well written.
Yeah, but was
Question,
this one
Charlie.
well written? Was this well written?
No, this one was not well written.
Okay.
How
And not
would
just
you-
because it was gay, just because the guy was not good at writing.
Well, because it was turned from something
No.
else.
But is he a bad writer? Like, is he
Yes.
bad at writing? Like, it's like, even if it wasn't based off
Only a
of the
bad
brotherly
writer would make that
relationship.
decision to where you're taking this brotherly relationship and changing it
Okay,
to
so
something else.
sometimes people can make decisions.
Right, like changing
You know,
Troy and
when
what's his face?
Heracles.
Heracles.
Achilles and Heracles, the cousins,
have-
rather than just roommates.
Charlie,
I mean,
if
yeah, that was a dumb decision, but I don't remember enough of Troy to remember if it was overall like a good or bad movie.
It was a good movie. It's very fun.
I can think it was a good movie. Okay,
Yeah.
then it was a good movie. Like, that was a stupid choice that they made, but still a good movie.
Yeah,
So my point
anti-wokeness
is-
did not ruin that movie for me. I'll say that.
Is this guy like a bad writer? Like, is it bad? Is his writing actually bad? Does it not work at all? If you forget that this used to be a brotherly relationship, if you forget
If I
that
forget-
completely, was it poorly
still-
written? Is
Yeah,
he a
we're going
bad
back to the
writer?
core of the argument now, where we believe that failure can just kind of be siloed in these individual spaces rather than enjoying something as a whole.
Charlie, do you if let's say Amazon made a TV
Saying
show
he is a bad writer
for
because he
Lord of the
changed
Oh,
Rings.
hold
something.
on. Give it to Deej. Give it to Deej. Go ahead, Deej.
Yeah, sorry.
If
Mhm.
Amazon were to do a redo of Lord of the Rings, like the original trilogy, and they had Frodo and Sam's relationship end up being them falling in love with each other, do you think that there would be something missing, like core in the story that I guess how would you feel about that, even if the writing was kind of okay?
So the whole thing about this was a terrible example for you to use, because I am actually a Sam and Frodo have a relationship that transcends both romance and platonic love, and in fact takes the place amongst the Beren and Luthiens of Tolkien.
Are
This
they
is
fucking
this
on the
is
astral
this is
plane?
a.
What does this mean?
I mean, they are holding each other naked, caressing each other, kissing each other. Sam looks at Frodo multiple times and says, "I love him. He's so beautiful. There's something about him that I just love." And mind you, I've done a whole presentation on this, which you guys could watch if you wanted to. There's also a ton of Tolkien scholarship on this very subject. Would Sam and Frodo, two men who love each other, whether you perceive it as platonic or romantic, would them portraying Sam and Frodo as in a romantic sort of relationship ruin
Yes.
or ultimately change the story? No.
It would ruin it.
How would,
Because
why
it is
would,
still
why would it
their
ruin it?
relationship. It would ruin
Why
their
would it ruin it?
relationship.
Why?
It would ruin their relationship because one of the things that I think Ash was trying to point to earlier, but I feel strongly about this, is the constant need for people to take what are platonic relationships, what are strong platonic bonds, and make them gay because
Okay,
they have to be
so-
romantic.
So the thing
I
about
think
that, again,
if I'm
Lord of the
to
Rings is all okay, I guess you
Just-
can, but I know what you're gonna say.
Okay, but let me say it so the audience can hear, and then you can respond, and then no one's confused about what's going to be said. So again, right, the draw from a character standpoint of Frodo and Sam is the bond that they have of a brotherly kind of platonic love, a friendship that isn't just so base as they're fucking, right? That they go through this horrific experience to this horrific place, and Sam basically carries Frodo over the finish line, right? Like Frodo literally can't do it without Sam. Sam has to. He's there for him to bring him over the finish line because their bond is so strong. They love each other, but they're not fucking. And to debase it to they just fuck each other.
Well, you're making it
Well,
sound.
okay,
what,
so hold on.
It's fine.
Shh. Hold on. I don't want to turn this into an entire Lord of the Rings argument, but if you did not hear me correctly. Peter Jackson actually had to make a couple of decisions to ensure that Sam and Frodo did not come off as gay. Because again, their relationship, especially in a 21st century context, does nothing other than look really gay. Lord of the Rings is essentially a whole lot of men loving and caring for each other. And again, Sam and Frodo have a transcendent loving relationship. It is not brotherly. I also wouldn't say romantic is entirely accurate either. Again, Sam's daughter in the Unfinished Tales compares Sam and Frodo's separation later in life as a separation between Galadriel and Celeborn and Beren and Luthien. Like it is these great loving relationships in which two people depend on each other very significantly to get through something awful. It is beyond that. And I would say it's based to reduce it to brotherly. It is also based, again, to reduce it to just sheer romance. But again, there are romantic undertones there. You can read platonic undertones there. But it doesn't change the fact that these are two people who love each other very much. And it is their love that guides them through Mordor. And at the end of the day, it is not, might that wins the day. It's love. And it can be any kind of love, in my opinion. So for if a new writer were to if a new
agape matters in this. Okay.
No, I don't. Again, because it is a transcendental relationship, like Beren and Luthien. It is something that spans planes of existence. It is for better or for worse. That is Sam's great romance. Or Sam's great love. It's not Rosie Cotton. Rosie Cotton was to demonstrate that he could assimilate to society in a way that Frodo couldn't because he was so traumatized. He had to leave and go to Erisea. It wouldn't change the story because, again, Peter Jackson had to make it blatantly heterosexual and add things that weren't there.
And even then,
so that people
didn't totally succeed.
It didn't totally succeed because, again, a bunch of people were like, wow, this is really gay, even when they had tried to be like, no, Sam likes Rosie back at home, when he never spoke about her or mentioned her until literally the ass end of the book. So again, no, I don't think it would actually change that much. I could talk at length about how decisions made in the Rings of Power were dog shit and stupid, and girl bossifying Galadriel was one of the most evil things I've ever seen done to her character. Sure, absolutely. We could talk at length about that. But again, what the fuck were we talking about? How did this sort of conversation begin?
I totally agree that if Tolkien had written it differently so that they, I don't know, so if they were gay or they were if they were fucking and that was part of their transcendental.
Well, he would never write someone fucking. He would never write someone fucking.
If he did, it wouldn't really change.
He wrote them kissing.
Well, were they kissing on the lips, like making out?
I don't know. I don't think he ever specified, but they were kissing. Okay, have you ever held your naked friend and looked at him with the moonlight on his face and thought, I love him. He's so beautiful. And then kissed all over his face. Like, have you done that? Have you done that to your male friends?
Charlie, that was supposed to be a personal, private experience between us.
Again,
why are you sharing
the real scandal here is that
if the NDA, an unrelated NDA,
we said no homo before.
Yeah, the real scandal is that all of my sexy DMs are directly just stolen from Tolkien. I was not creative at all.
I will say, though, there's probably then, Charlie, a lot of very straight men that took part in world wars that you would consider not, like, just brotherly love. Because, like, the thing is a lot of what you're, like, describing, I can see, like, situations.
Okay, again, would love to send you my presentation because I also address the culture, like how men interact with each other during World War I, which is, I think, a lot of where Tolkien really emphasizing male bonds comes from. But also the thing about World War I is that was the first time for a lot of men who had some gay feelings were able to explore those things. And there are, in fact, a dearth of stories on which it was Sam's and Frodo's relationship was initially based off of the Batman and their officers. There's a lot of stories about those things getting really gay. So again, I think the point is Charlie, that in times of war, and shut the fuck up, in times of war and great strife, the lines of, platonic love, romantic love disappear because what matters is that you love each other and you're caring for each other. What I'm saying is that these things are complicated, and I think, frankly, trying to reduce it down to strictly platonic and brotherly is kind of insulting. I would also say I joke about them fucking on Mountain Doom and raw dogging each other, but that's a joke. I think that reducing it down to something base and disgusting is also not appropriate. It's transcendental. It's Baron and Luthien. It's Galadriel and Celeborn. Like, it's like...
I'm so glad we have a woman here to explain brotherly love. That's so nice that we...
Okay, well, I used to be a
Wow.
man, so I think I could maybe understand that a little bit. Thank you.
Just briefly. We don't have to
Did you?
debate the
Thank you.
specifics.
Okay, well, look, here, this is its own topic. I don't want to get distracted, but we
Yeah,
have to
so I
fight it
wanna
sometime. I will fight
just-
you to the death on this, but...
Going back a little bit, we don't have to
Go ahead,
debate over
go ahead,
whether it's
please.
specifically accurate, but we can agree that since the portrayals already do exist, and if I see myself as sympathizing with this relationship, but I don't see it as, or I lean more heavily on the platonic end or transcendental end, right? This is it's more than just like a passing friend that I talk to once every few years. It's more like this is my best friend. We spend all the time together, all of our time together and stuff like that. If somebody came back later and said, you empathize with this, you are gay, I'm going to change the representation, I'm going to remake this to explain to you that you are gay, that's kind of what throws some people off.
Well, I don't think it makes you gay. I don't think it makes
If
you gay
if somebody came out and said, actually, you are gay when you sympathize with this, or actually they were fucking, Tolkien just didn't write about it, so you who see yourself in these two characters, that makes you gay, that would be, you understand why some people would maybe even reflexively say, whoa.
Yeah, but why would did I say that you guys are gay for relating to Sam and Frodo? I think you should... Okay.
You did not say
Okay,
that.
I think that would be
If-
bad if someone were to say that. I think that you can appreciate this loving relationship between men and depending on each other. I don't think... I think you could... It doesn't make you gay. Doesn't make you straight either. There are many relationships that I think in media I have looked at and been like, wow, that's really cool and lovely, and it doesn't say one thing or another about my sexuality. You know what I mean?
Right. It would be weird of somebody to come back and do that. It's just like if they did it in real life.
So wait, Wick, what if they just gender swapped Sam and they kept everything the same? Would you still be okay with it?
I would be more okay with that
Why?
than I would be with them making them gay, yes.
Why?
Because it would, as long as they did not make it a romantic love, again, we have a lack in media of showing non-romantic love. Can we all agree on that? There is a lack in media
No!
of showing...
No,
You
I
don't think
cannot
so?
agree on that! Lord of the Rings is all about, like, do you know...
Okay,
It's
name
the
a
fellowship.
modern story.
It's the fellowship. Modern story?
Yeah, name a modern movie, a modern show.
God of War.
Sinners.
God
That's
of
father
War.
and son. God of War.
The
That's
brotherly
father and
sinners
son.
love.
Can we go back to the
Oh,
wheelchair?
yeah.
from
You don't like
earlier?
it when we name the real thing.
Here's the
Sounds
problem.
like you just
Here's
hate
the problem.
gay people, Wick.
Here's the problem. I am pointing to a general problem. There are exceptions to that problem. It's like saying most women are, on average, 5'7", and then you say, "Well, I'm 5'6". Cool. That's not what I'm saying.
Well, then why'd you ask us to name an
That
example?
You're 5'6".
All women are
The
5'7".
average is
Oh, yeah?
5'7".
Name
And when
one
I'm
that isn't.
talking
Okay.
About a general, consistent problem in media, yes, there are exceptions to this.
Barbie was not about romantic love.
Wait, no. The main character
Again,
wanted
you can name
romantic love.
specific examples that are
Ken
exceptions
wanted
to
it,
the
but then they're
rule,
friends.
but I'm saying
They're
that I
friends.
can name a vast more movies, shows, media, books that depict romantic love than you can.
Okay,
But you said
highest
the lack
grossing
of.
films of 2023. Barbie, no romance. Super Mario Bros, no romance. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, was there romance? I didn't see that
A
one.
little bit. Yeah, it's like the main
Okay.
characters. It's hinted at.
Guardians of the Galaxy, I think there's like a dead girlfriend, but it's mostly friends bonding with each other and loving each other because they're friends. I think the whole like raccoon thing, they like love, it's the Rocket, the raccoon needs help from his friends or something. I don't know, and they bond.
There is a
Oppenheimer,
full
that was
frontal
about...
scene where they gangbang Rocket at the end of that one, though, so I wouldn't use that example.
Never mind. They fuck the raccoon.
No, there's a problem.
Oppenheimer!
Which we've established is not woke based on our Baldur's Gate 3.
No love. Ant-Man and the Wasp,
agree.
was that? I guess that is romance. John Wick is not love. The Sound of Freedom, did not see that one. Is there romance?
Well,
Or
he's
is that
not
what you
romance.
meant?
There's
Or
some
all those
romance. There's a
kids
little bit of
for ones
romance
that
in The
don't
Sound of
have
Freedom.
romance.
There's some relationships.
He's asking for stories where there is a like strong theme about brotherly bonds that, to your point about Sam and Frodo, are transcendental. When we're talking about two men who have a love for each other that is, it is technically by definition platonic, but it's more than just like a, oh yeah, he's my best friend. It's like you've forged a bond with this person that is like, even if you two never see each other again, even if you're on opposite ends of the universe, you will remember each other and
So every war
have a
movie ever,
connection.
every war movie ever. Like I'm just saying, I feel
Yeah,
like we
just
have
like
a whole
Pacific
genre.
Rim is like a better example, probably.
Oh yeah, that's a
Mario
great
and
example.
Luigi is a good
Yeah.
example. That's like
Mario and
brotherly
Luigi.
love. No
Yes.
matter what realm Luigi is in, Mario
What's
is
the
always
what's
thinking
that
about
movie
saving
about
him.
those kids? What's that movie about those kids that like there's like railroad tracks?
Goonies.
I don't know.
Are you talking
No, not the
about Stand By Me?
Oh, okay.
not the
Yeah,
Goonies.
Stand By Me.
She's
Yes.
talking about
Stand by
Stand By
Me.
Me.
Isn't that not like a
Yeah, the
you know?
Sure, that
40.
was in
You're
the
talking
80s.
about like the 40-year-old
Cool.
movie Stand By Me.
Oh my god. Okay, Step Brothers. Is that not about brother?
Look,
I just
Telling
watched
you about
that one.
research.
I just think it's weird that you're fighting me on this point. It's just it's an easy
Because
bullet
I
to
feel
fight.
like seeing brotherly love, I see it in a lot of like men bonding with each other is in like a lot of media.
Wick's just the angry guy in the park who's throwing rocks at couples, and he's like, why should they be happy? It's not about the fact there's not enough brotherly love.
Yeah.
It's just it's like, why is there so much romance?
Yeah, and your argument is, hey, Wick, you were in a relationship 20 years ago. That should sustain you right now. But we're talking about a current media environment when we're talking about stuff like this. So I think it's totally valid to be like, all right, well, I'm being swarmed with anytime I look at these, anytime I look at this fandom, I have a
Okay,
fond
hold
memory
on,
of
just
this.
real quick. I wanna prove my point once and for all. You
Yeah.
look at any new serial, any new show on TV, right? In the last, I'd say, 10 years, 80% of them in the first episode have a sex scene. They whether it works with the
Wait,
story or
hold on.
not.
It's not a zero-sum game. You can have
0%.
brotherly love and sex scenes between other characters,
Yeah,
right?
people are allowed to have sex.
Like I brought up
what are you
Sinners.
talking-
The main two
I'm just
characters are
I'm just
brotherly,
letting you
transcendental
know.
bonds that go beyond the supernatural, and yet there are so many horny scenes in that movie that don't reduce the brotherly love.
Yeah.
I feel that when we're talking about, because remember why we brought this up, changing brotherly love to gay, that's the problem.
What
No,
does that
no,
have
hold
to do
on.
with
Wait,
who's making
wait, Charlie,
who,
Charlie,
other than me
Charlie, wait. I have
headbanging?
to say this because Wick, you said if I gender swap Sam, that would be less bad, even though that completely removes brotherly love and transcendental bond. There, it now becomes a woman-man friendship that's different. You would probably agree. You had less of a
But
problem with
also
that
not
than if they
romantic.
were gay. Yeah, but you had less of a
Also not
problem. You
romantic.
didn't say
If they
this was
made
an
it
equal
romantic, it
problem.
would be worse.
Sure, but you said you specifically okay. So you said if it's just romance is the problem, not the gay thing, Wick. Just to double check.
Yes, it's
Okay.
changing brotherly love or a platonic form of love to a romance. That's the problem.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I would say
Gender
the D&D
swap,
movie has a
gender
really
swap
good
swim.
D&D movie had a really good Chris
That's
Pine
fair.
and Michelle Rodriguez. Not Michelle. It was Michelle Rodriguez. They had a very platonic
I thought it was her.
male-female transcendental, friendship that I thought was amazing. That's only a couple years old, and it was vastly underseen.
No, to be clear, chat, Charlie wasn't talking about stepbrother porn. She was talking about the movie Step Brothers. There's a lot of people who misheard you.
Okay.
Ooh,
that- I
ooh,
was
woo,
not
Will
saying
Ferrell.
step-
I'm
step-
stuck in the washing machine.
Clear it up.
That's
Okay,
insane.
Okay. We have gone off the reservation. I blame Charlie for this.
I'm
She
s-
got us off on the Lord of the Rings
Can I-
stuff.
I
That's
have to
No,
defend
that was
Charlie's
that was
honor.
that
It
was
was me.
Deej.
Yeah,
He
Deej
did that.
brought up Lord
He
of the
did
Rings.
fair
that.
enough.
Said
Fair
us
enough.
that
Deej-
way.
Never start talking to me about Lord of the
Deej
Rings. It
lit
doesn't
the
go well.
match, but Charlie blew up in the fire.
Yeah.
It'll
activated
always
the
happen. You
trap
cannot
card.
bring Lord of the Rings up around me. Like it will. I will start lecturing. It doesn't. You can't do this. Don't ever do it.
Wick had to tell me not to bring up how Tolkien was a derivative of Lord Dunsany earlier, who was the actual inspiration for most of our traditions of fantasy, because he thought it would just like totally derail us. He gave me that warning in
kill
writing
you, bro.
earlier.
You know, you can also poke the bear in Baldur's Gate 3. You don't just have to fuck it, Ash.
Dude, poke of the law. You can do both.
Okay.
Moving
Well,
on.
this
Can
has
I take it
been
back to the? I want to go back to like a piece of the.
okay.
It's
Quickly,
it's
we are
old, but
going
I
to
think it's
end
just
soon,
like,
but quickly go
yeah,
ahead.
I think it lets us like wrap up the debate. To be progressive for a moment, wheelchairs have existed for a long time. Actually, they're very old. They go back to like the 14th century. You can have people in wheelchairs in games, and it's totally fine. The combat wheelchair was introduced. Some people liked it, some people didn't. If you disliked it, or if it like didn't quite jive with your expectations for the game, the immediate accusation was like, hey, you just hate disabled people. You hate seeing disabled people. You reflexively, Soy Pill said, well, there's people with prosthetics that exist, there's other ways that you could go about it. So, but it didn't matter because you could be criticizing the method, you could be criticizing the presentation. It was backed by a contingent of people because it acts as a shield, a proper shield to say you can't examine anything behind this shield critically because we're going to refer to you as a bigot. It's impenetrable. So that's the problem, and that's basically how woke functions. It's not even people who are progressive. It's mostly marketing departments and useful idiots who are setting up a shield wall and saying you may not criticize anything behind this barrier because we will slander you in the American as basically an apostate for the modern American religion, which is whether or not you're progressive.
Haven't we already kind of aren't we a little bit beyond that now? Because I feel like we've gotten to the point where um well, okay, this is a little bit off base, but I mean very few corporations had their Pride Month logos out this year. I think
This
that the
year,
marketing is going, "Oh, people don't really like the gays very much anymore. Let's switch it up." So I think maybe we could all come to the conclusion that marketing is evil and that making art for profit sucks.
I'm not going to agree with the last part, but I am going to
That's because
say
he's making a
you,
game
you've
and he
you've
needs to make money off
recognized
of it.
exactly.
Okay, but doesn't it
Yeah.
suck to have
Gotta
to
eat.
make listen, I hate making choices for my stream for money
Mhm.
because I will not say things and I will do things and present myself in specific ways that I fucking hate. And I hate it. And it makes me so mad, but I need to do it because I have to pay rent. Don't you
go
Those
on
also
feelings
hate that?
don't go
Wikitv.
away.
You have to go on
No,
Wikitv
because
or
those
you can't
feelings
make
don't
enough
go away
money, I guess.
when I stop making money off of it. Those feelings don't go away. Like if I mostly just hate making art. I have this compulsion to do it. So I hate art. It's
Okay, that's
despicable.
well, I don't make art,
That's a
so
spicier take.
Evil. But
yeah.
no, seriously. So we've recognized now that this is a pattern of behavior because I really didn't want to focus on like exclusively progressive values, but it is a pattern of behavior where people take what is the dominant political religion at the time and use it as a shield from which you can't criticize anything behind this. And even if you say, wait, there's so much money going here that could go somewhere else, and no, I can't predict or prove with 100% accuracy as if you had written a confession that you ruined it on purpose. Yes, I can't say that it would be better, but there's problems now, and you're one of them, but it's the only one I can't criticize. That's a problem. It's going to continue into the next American religion and the one after that and the one after that. And so long as useful idiots reflexively say, heretic, apostate, don't hire this person, kill him,
Well, I don't think
then it's
anyone
going to
has
continue
said
to be a problem.
I don't think anyone's ever been killed over this.
But should they
People
be?
have.
Should they be? That's the next panel.
I've
Like,
played some
should we kill
games
people who
that
aren't woke? And the answer is yes.
maybe, right? Like I'm pretty nonviolent guy, but look, after
Says
being
the
forced to
progressive.
sit through some games, I might change my opinion. Just I make an exception to the rule, if you will. Um, okay. With that said, gang, we've had such a great debate, such a such a great um off-topic debate at the end there, but it
This
was
tech
still
support sucks. You hate
look,
Indian people.
it was still a good
See?
discussion. I'm going to give each of these individuals who spent their time, right, and their energy coming on my show when they don't have to, right? I have links to all their stuff in my YouTube description. Please click on those links. Please give them follows. Please give them subscribes. Please give them love, right? Leave your hateful comments to me. That's how I, right, make my money.
Wait, I
Super
respectfully,
chat in how I
please
need to
also
cut my
hatefully
hair.
comment me.
But
You need a super
regardless,
chat Wick and tell him to cut my hair.
but before we do that, I do. Speaking of super chats, I'll just go through these real quick, and then I'll tell you guys what we got coming up. $5 from Blahiki Blah to say the combat wheelchair isn't poor implementation of woke. It's great implementation of woke. $5 more from Often Topical to say when it comes to TTRPGs, it's literally you don't have to engage with it. If you don't like it, you're in charge. Who the hell cares? $10. Already read that. £5 from Jacob Buckingham. Very British of you. If you enjoyed The Witcher 3, Cyberpunk 2077, or Baldur's Gate 3, you can't say wokeness is the problem. $5 from Old School to say the love between Sam and Frodo mirrors the love between Dr. Bashir and O'Brien on Deep Space Nine. It's a brotherly love that was common in World War One. And
Oh,
then
they were super gay. They were super
$2.
like Deep Space Nine. They was come on.
I don't remember the Deep Space Nine stuff. Okay, $2 from the Trib wanted to say criticism without justification is hating. And welcome to the Haters Club. Okay, that said, what do we got coming up? Tomorrow, I'm going to have Eucharist on. I'm going to have Ryan Mullally on. I'm going to have Sociological Ali. And we're going to be talking about American values, right? What does it mean to be an American? I think with the riots going on, with the debate on immigration going on, I think that is a valid question. What does it mean to be an American? What are the American values we should hold? Tune in tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern for that. On Wednesday, some retard is going to yell at me on Admiral Gibbs' show for a while, and I'm going to ask him why he loves to laugh at the death of children, and that will be a fun conversation.
Is that his
On
username, or is that just
No,
okay?
that's what I call him.
Okay.
It is
Thursday,
now.
yeah, it is.
Is that Pensapo?
Yes. And I'm glad you do it just for the description. Great. Wonderful.
I know.
I'm glad. Yeah, it fits, right? Okay. On Thursday, we're gonna have Not So Erudite, we're gonna have Tollybots, we're gonna have Aaron, and we're gonna have the Soy Pill actually on a trans debate. Is trans affirmative healthcare life-saving in nature? Is it necessary? And we're gonna debate about that. Should be fun. And then finally, on Friday, we have Irrelevant, we have Tollybots, and we have Admiral Gibbs to debate on the riots, right? And the government's response to it. And it's a double feature that day because at 9, I'm going to be teaming up with the Raging Tomato, and we're going to co-host a show where you, yes, you, can call in and yell at us about whatever you like. So that's my thing. We're going to give it to Soy Pill first. We're going to let Ash have the last word. Soy Pill, close us out.
Yeah, so I completely understand the grievances of this kind of corporate idea to latch on to whatever is going to be the most popular, and for a while that was more progressive politics, and then injecting things where they don't really belong. And I didn't bring this up because I didn't want to give you guys a win, but I think there is a game that was ruined by this, and it was I think it was Call of Duty World War II. I might be mixing my games up, but they allowed you to be a black woman on the Wehrmacht, and I was like, this really takes me out of it. This really does kind of ruin my immersion, and I don't really want to play it anymore. I thought it was dumb, and this happens sometimes. My entire thing is, whether or not you hate wokeness, whether or not you're anti-progressive, has little to do with whether or not you like these games. It's really because you don't like really shitty games. Because, as we all agreed, at least on this panel, and what most people seem to think as the popular opinion, there are plenty of woke games that are great, like Elden Ring, like Baldur's Gate 3, that are full of progressive politics. What you don't like is shitty writing. What you don't like is corporatism injecting their shitty agenda with not really any amount of, like, thought within, or, hey, yeah, fucking throw a wheelchair in there, I don't give a fuck. They're just not really trying. It's bad, it's poor writing, and we can all agree that sucks. It has nothing to do with being woke. It's just the attachment to whatever makes them the most money, and at that time, it might have been woke. Now, the problem is that woke is now this encompassing term that people use to essentially sometimes mean the N-word, especially on the far right, which is really scary. So if you want to criticize bad stuff, just criticize it for being bad, and then you won't get these weird accusations, which I don't believe are true for anyone on this panel, of being racist or homophobic or transphobic or any of that. I think everyone on this panel is probably a good person who I would be totally okay with, feel comfortable with, and not a bigot. But just know that those accusations are thrown at you because you're lumping yourself in with a really shitty crowd with really shitty opinions. So things sometimes suck. It's not because of woke, and video games are good when they're woke sometimes. So that's all I have to say. I'm the Soy Pill. Go watch my video essays.
Thanks for being here, man, and check him out. He's at 100,000 subscribers, gang. He's blowing up. I did miss one super chat, and I'm sorry,
Very
I'm
good.
gonna read it now.
Congrats.
$5 from the Trib1 to say, I think Wokeness has improved gaming, focused more on story and adding more archetypes, removed a bit of fluff in the process. L, microtransactions. Thank you for that. I appreciate you. And I'm curious why Elden Ring is considered woke. I had no idea. But
Wick, I'm
Deej Nuts,
DMing you right now the official
go ahead.
woke ranking list, so you can look at this while everyone else is giving their thing. Just Google,
Deej.
just do in the search bar Elden Ring. Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I am Deej. You can follow me on Twitter at Deej's Nuts. Yeah, I think that actually my main points about the kind of corporate structure and the pressure that journalism in the West puts on games to take things out for the sake of wokeness or I don't even want to necessarily call them progressive ideals, because in those cases I don't think they're really progressive. Weren't really contested. I think a lot of us agreed on the generalities of it. I will say though, Wick, you have been censoring the stream because I did give you $50 and you did not take off your jacket.
You have to ask specifically for
Oh.
that.
What?
It has to be requested.
Take it
Otherwise,
off,
what,
Wick!
what am I going to get $50 from a rando for saying something and then take off my shirt? No, you got to ask for it. I will do
I
it next time. I
said
promise.
uncensor Wick.
Oh.
What does that mean?
Take it off, Wick.
Uncensor
It means
Wick.
You want me
now.
to
Well,
take it off
now
right
that
now?
he's
Your boobs
clarified,
are
Wick.
Okay, while
Give me-
Charlie is giving her closing statement, then in that case, you get a
Wick will
closing
strip.
statement and a show. Go ahead, take it away, Charlie. Make it nice and slow for the audience. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was gonna do a really quick one, so this sucks. Hi, I'm Enemy Charlie. My thoughts are that I'm distracted.
Oh.
Let me
It's
cover
okay,
up
take your
Wick. Let
time.
me cover up Wick. His e-girl era is infectious.
Is this
I think
TOS? Am I
that
allowed to show this?
complaining about woke.
Are you body type 1? No, he didn't have his head.
And that's all. That's all I have to say. Thanks, guys. Ash.
Calm down, Charlie. Calm down. This is a family-friendly show. You need to just.
Just
My
no.
eyes are up here. My eyes are up here, Charlie. Okay. Look, I'm more than just a piece of meat. Ash, please, before she gets carried away, please.
Oh, you got to do Deej first.
Did Deej not
No,
give
Deej already went.
He
already
went.
Oh, it was that long
Ash.
So
tangent.
distracted.
A lot
by
of
your
people are
visage,
distracted
Wick.
right now.
Yeah,
huh?
Ash was just staring.
Jesus Christ! Come on, all of you need to calm yourselves.
Wick,
Look, when
my
I
chat
talk
is going
about not making
crazy
everything,
Made
for
eye
you right
contact.
now.
not
Okay,
everything
but
being
once.
romantic and sexual, you're seeing it at play right here. This was a purely platonic striptease. Okay, go ahead.
I don't
Go ahead,
agree.
Deej. Sure.
No, Ash, it's
No,
your turn.
Ash.
Sorry.
Close this out.
It's like listen, he threw this off track. No, so I appreciate Soy Pill's apology earlier for reflexively referring to me as a apostate of the American religion for daring to criticize people who provide no value or make a business of providing no value, and stealing, basically stealing funds, stealing productivity, and stealing attention from people who would actually make our media better, or at the very least would have a chance to practice it without being reflexively on the other side called woke. I think it's perfectly demonstrated why it's so insidious, why it's so evil. It's this conversational eddy that you have to move around, because if you run up against it, like there's just no hope. You can't get away from the discussion of woke in anything.
Did I not
No matter
criticize it
how
a million
tiresome it
times in
gets, you will
this
be
debate,
assaulted
guys?
by anti-woke marketing.
Like, he's
and
complaining
people
about the
who are
thing that I
making
do
dog
all the
shit
time.
based off the fact that they are anti-woke, like the Eric July's ISOM, some of the Comicsgate people, a lot of the people who left Comicsgate, no matter Grums's trash, non-existent game Ember, who he's been like collecting money off that for ages, talking about how it's not going to be woke. There's not much of a game there. There's not any game there. And once it releases, there will definitely not be any depth to it or anything interesting. So it really is just this I don't know, this egregore that we have to deal with in society of just constantly walking on eggshells around other people to make sure that we don't trigger any kind of accusations of blasphemy and say, I didn't like this, or this, or this could have been handled better, and hoping that you're not just annihilated for it. That's why it's evil. Because you can't just engage with entertainment and say, this didn't work on me. I didn't like it this much. And you can't discuss it in common parlance because that could mean that you're like secretly a Nazi. And they could be in the room with us right now. That's the refrain of evil people. Thanks.
Okay, thank you all for being here. We're gonna raid out into enemy Charlie, so make sure you tell her it's a hate raid. And I will see you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 6 p.m. Thanks again for coming. Bye
Hell
bye.
yeah.
Thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Check the news, by the way.
Check the news. Something bad happened? Guys, that was interesting how we were finally able to conclude that, yeah, indeed, I was right the whole time. I do want to share this. This is really funny. Give me a second here. I'm going to pull this up. Well, first, let's check the news, because maybe something really bad happened. Let's see. U.S. deploys Marines to Los Angeles. I already saw that. That's crazy how they're escalating it when it probably is not that bad. Greta Thunberg gets taken hostage, gets released. What is everyone so worried about? RFK Jr. removes all members of CDC panel advising the U.S. on vaccines. Hold on, guys. Let's start adding this so you can see what I'm looking at here, because this is fucking wild. They hit the woke gun. Uh-oh. Wait, yeah, here. Okay. RFK Jr. That's what it's on. He's retiring home. Let me ask Charlie real quick, because this is what she's talking about, too. You talking about RFK? What news? Also, real quick, hold on. Let's open up this woke panel thing, because we got to look at the woke detector, guys. I wanted you to know that when these people complain about woke... Oh, you guys can't see my thing. Shit, one sec. There it is. So when you complain about wokeness, all right? When you complain about wokeness, you're lumping all your criticisms in with all this other fucking bullshit about, let's see. Monster Hunter contains pro-climate action things. It's woke. Marvel Spider-Man has too many LGBT things and is anti-gun. It's woke. And it's like, yeah, okay, if you want to criticize bad writing, you should do it. But just know that when you say that these people are insidious, evil people, you're lumping yourself in with the dumbest motherfucking critics of all time. And I do want to show you some of the games that are not woke, all right? Because there are some not woke games. Hey, Ben Raleigh, thank you for the 5. I'm going to watch V for Vendetta because... I don't know, it makes sense. Why? Is something happening? Did something get blown up? What happened? Look at Overcooked. Check Dine and Dash. Dine and Dash. Let's see, Overcooked. I don't see Overcooked. Look at, let's see though. Guys, Freddy Fish is the least woke game series of all time. There's no woke content in Freddy Fish 4, The Case of the Hogfish Wrestlers of Briny Gulch. Wait, TF2 is rated as woke? Oh, okay, hold on. I had the filter on. Overcooked. Contains subtly pro-DEI messaging. One of the playable characters is a wheelchair-bound worker. How is this not a joke? Hold on, I gotta screenshot this and send it to Charlie. What the fuck? Oh my god, this is so embarrassing. These people, like, this is what I mean when, like, people complain about the woke mind virus, and there are some things that are overly ridiculous, but how the fuck is... Wait, actually, I gotta tweet this, too. Whoever told me to look this up, you're a genius. This is so fucking funny. Slightly woke. A wheelchair-bound cocoon. Well, let me look at Team Fortress. Contains overtly pro-LGBT messaging, Major League Mayhem, Ubercharge charity tournament, a community event raising money for the Trevor Project, which is a trans thing, right? Yeah, wow, it's super woke. It's not even part of the game either. It's so ridiculous. Yeah, we should... There's too many... I'm tired of them putting fucking raccoons in the game to make it gay and woke! So ridiculous. What about, oh god, any other games I should look up in here? Animal Crossing? Yeah. Animal Crossing is not even on this list, so I guess it's not woke. Japanese people, I'm assuming, are not woke. But yeah, guys, is there something crazy that's happening in the news right now? That would otherwise tell me that like I should be checking the news because Ben Riley and some other people are V for Vendetta posting, and I'm a little worried that like they've blown up a police station and things are escalating out of control. But Reuters is not telling me anything, and Reuters is also not usually very fast. What's Red Dead Redemption? Let's see. Contains subtly pro-DEI messaging. Yeah, you can kill the KKK. That's a little woke. Several minor characters espouse modern-day political sentiments. For example, Sadie Adler behaves the same way a modern-day feminist would. Yeah, that's stupid. Dave the Diver. What's on Dave the Diver? I've never played that. Overtly pro-DEI and probably diverse cast. The player character is a fat guy who can somehow deep dive and swim long distances without trouble. The sushi chef is black.
Oh yeah.
Black people are not allowed to make sushi, guys. That's woke. Imagine you walk into like a Benihana and there's like the black guy making sushi and you're like, this restaurant is woke. What am I looking up? Counter-Strike now? Oh my god, this is... Contains overtly pro-DEI messaging, features multiple female agent skin, including a female Navy SEAL and female SWAT officers. Vipa is more muscular than most male officers. Okay, honestly, female Navy SEAL is a little woke. I will say that, because you're trying to put representation where that doesn't make sense. All right, this is what I said about the black woman Nazi. It's like, look, maybe this even happened, but like this takes me out of it. All right, like that's ridiculous. But yeah, the idea that they're complaining that there's a muscular woman is very silly. I did not do Wolfenstein yet. That's so funny that there's a black sushi chef. The playable character's father is revealed to have been abusive and racist. The player character is saved by his pregnant girlfriend and Grace is anti-white feminist. See, it's like, what are you complaining about? It's like, oh, you can't have a racist dad. That's woke. Saying things are racist is woke. Oh yeah, wait, hold on. I gotta look at the Outer Wilds one. That's one of my favorite games of all time. The Harthians are non-binary and use they, them. Therefore it's woke. It's like, see, like, you call it woke even though it makes perfect sense in a world where I've created a agendered species. Like, no, it's not allowed. Like, it's woke to even... The concept of a species that has no sexual dimorphism is woke, which is so funny because I think, like, aren't, like, worms, like, non-sexually dimorphic? There are sexually dimorphic animals. So it's so fucking dumb. I did check TF2. It's no way Plants vs. Zombies is on here, is it? No, it is on here, but it contains no woke content. Not a single one. Yeah. Hollow Knight? How could Hollow Knight be woke? Subtly pro-LGBT, the NPC Cloth is revealed to be a lesbian. An achievement called Happy Couple involves the Nailsmith becoming a male model for the NPC Sheo. Is Sheo a girl? Or is it like another guy? This is so stupid. Dark Souls 2? Wait, Portal 2 is woke? Portal 2 is woke. Let's see. Portal contains no woke content. Portal 2 contains subtly... it's slightly woke because of their subtle anti-patriarchy messaging. All male characters are portrayed negatively. There's one male. It's just Cave Johnson, right? Isn't he like the only actual male character in the game? Oh, okay. Oh no, my god. Are they talking about Wheatley? Oh, it's woke because Wheatley's a dumbass, and they didn't make a dumbass girl character. These people are brain broken. Jesus Christ. Balloons is woke? No way. There's a pride flag item available in the trophy store. Psy is referred to using they, them. Yeah, this is so... Like, imagine living your life like this, just getting outraged at everything. This is so stupid. Like... Guys, I keep giving examples of like, hey, this is really bad writing. It has to do with progressive agenda. I don't like this. And like, I'm not getting called out for it. No one's calling me racist. I have a very articulate reason as to why it's bad. And like, these people have fucking meltdowns because they like see a black person or an LGBT person. It's like, okay, yeah, you are racist. You are homophobic. And that's why they get lumped in with this. So yeah, maybe Ash isn't, maybe Deej isn't, but this is ridiculous, guys. Like, holy shit. Check Armored Core 6. Oh God. Armored Core 6 contains multiple forms of woke messaging, some abort and some more subtle. Yeah, I haven't played it, so I don't know. Chess is... Oh yeah, if I do chess, is it on here? Well, there's a chess explosion overtly... Oh, there's a trans pride color. It's so woke. Like... Oh, Christ. Dead Space? No way. Overtly pro-LGBTQ, pro-DEI. Multiple characters have been race swapped? Oh. Oh, wait. Oh, because they put it, like, in the remake, they, like, put a woke thing in? Jacob is bisexual. The ship's bathrooms are now gender neutral. I like how gender neutral is considered woke when like gender neutral bathrooms have existed for fucking ever. Like the idea of like a bathroom that is just like the sole bathroom that anyone can use and there's a baby changing station in there has been there forever. And these people fucking freak out about it. Like, it's so stupid. Put Futa in the search bar and you will be amazed. Are they not woke Futa games?
Oh,
I don't know if these are Futa games. Halvina, check churn vector. I don't know what this game is. Churn. Oberdin is subtly pro DEI. Despite taking place in the 19th century, the inspector can be female. Shut up. That's like the character doesn't even talk. It doesn't even matter. God, these people suck. What's vector, churned vector? It's not even on here, is it? I'm sorry that you sent me money to check a thing that is apparently not even on the woke list. Just put gay. Gay world. Woke. A gay love story about gay love contains overtly pro-LGBT messaging. I gotta screenshot that one too. Okay, do you think, guys, do you think a gay love story about gay love is woke? Oh, Christ. Oh my god. Bayonetta contains no woke content, though. God, these people are fucking awful. You gotta check Hoonie Pop. I don't know what Hoonie Pop is. Let's see. You couldn't make Miss Pac-Man today. Am I spelling Hoonie Pop wrong? No, it doesn't look like it. Skyrim? Is Skyrim woke? Contains LGBT, pro-DEI, homosexual marriage options. An NPC in Whiterun asks you whether the sight of a strong Nord woman offends you. Oh, wait! What's this down here? This list was compiled from the Woke Content Detector Steam group. I am not associated with it. This website was made as a joke. Thank Christ. But wait. Wait. If I go to the Steam page, is the Woke Content Detector all this stuff? Or is he just making fun of how ridiculous they are? Because maybe they're not this bad. Woke Content Detector Steam. How can I get to that? God, guys, I think we just had a revelation. Maybe this is not so bad. All right, what if I do a gay love story here? Can I search? Okay, no, it is. Okay, unfortunately, these people are indeed real. This guy is just compiling all in one spot. Yeah, okay, he's just copying it on. Okay, it is real. Contains overtly anti-Western society, overtly pro-communism, subtly pro-DEI. Okay, so he's just compiled it on one place. Okay, I thought I got for a second there, but someone was just smart enough to actually make a website for all of these. Oh, here, where's the new Assassin's Creed? Where is it? Okay, no, it is. Yeah, I've seen this. Yeah, okay, because this one's on here, right? If I look up Homefront, right? It's on here. It's just a compile. Contains overtly anti-Western society and overtly pro-DEI messaging. The U.S. and its allies are weaker than North Korea and has an improbably diverse cast. Yeah, this is exactly what it says here. So it is all real. Unfortunately, it is all real. This guy just... I don't even know why you'd call the website a joke. Like, apparently this is actually what people think. He might as well have just said, like, hey, look how ridiculous these people are. But Jesus Christ, guys. These people are fucked in the head. Imagine not being able to enjoy a game because of shit like this. Lego Indiana Jones contains improbable female combatants. No, my Legos are unrealistic. Oh, God, dude. These people suck. Dune Awakening, overtly pro-LGBT. God damn, dude. Like, what? How do you, like, have fun? Like, what games? Are there other games they do recommend? Can I sort by recommended? Recommended games. Ah, yes. Lonely Mountains Downhill. All you do is ride your bike downhill. Not woke. Metal Slug contains no woke content. I wonder if any of these, if I look up Elden Ring, is it going to be on here? Okay, they do call Elden Ring woke. At least they're consistent. Baldur's Gate. Yep. Okay, woke. All right, so it's like wokeness means it's not recommended at all. Meanwhile, these are some of the best games ever created. So it's like you're letting this stupid fucking thing just ruin your total enjoyment. Meanwhile, you could play the shittiest Dead Space 3. That's not woke. You know, it's like just why do you care so much? This is literally I will keep deferring to this. I am the Wojak. The how does this affect you personally, Wojak? But these people fucking like let this stuff like break their brains. They hear it and they just freak out. And it's like, hey, these games are fun. And if it's really ruining it that bad for you, you're probably a little pussy shit. I'm sorry. Like you're a snowflake. This is them becoming the wokeness that they so often criticized of like, oh man, you just get triggered by everything. It's like, oh, there's a gay. Like you unironically are like that. Meanwhile, at least the people in our debate were like criticizing some more shoehorned in examples. But like, Jesus Christ, guys, like how your list of games that are recommended is pretty sparse, all things considered. You don't really get to enjoy much. So, how is Darksiders not woke? I don't know, because it's like Catholic Christian ideology. Doom is woke because it censored Nazi symbols. Really? Are Paradox games woke? I don't know. Oh yeah, that's true. Oh my God. No, okay, well, who said that? Yeah. The bike game, if I was these people, if I was this brain broken, they're kind of missing something. They'd be like, promotes an anti-car walkable city agenda and pro-climate message. Like, come on. You guys fucking suck. These people are so disgusting. Like, they're so pathetic. All right, I don't think there's much more I could say. Any last games I should check on the woke thing before I go? Some good ones to react to. Otherwise, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Get ready. I gotta write my scripts, get ahead of it, and then I have to prepare for the trans debate. I want to do a good showing for the trans people, none of which will be on the panel, unfortunately. Who might be able to make a better argument for their existence, but I know they also don't like having to make that argument because that fucking sucks. New Vegas or Fallout, are they woke? I don't know. Are they? See, Fallout 4, woke. Fallout New Vegas, kind of woke. See, like, Fallout New Vegas is like, everyone likes this, especially the chuds. You know, they love Fallout New Vegas. So, like, oh, it's slightly woke, I can't enjoy it. It's like, okay. Wolfenstein we already saw was woke. Geometry Dash is woke? How is Geometry Dash overtly... Oh, because there's LGBT themed levels? Oh, God. The trans debate's on Thursday. Stardew Valley is gonna be woke. I don't even have to look at that one. What's the one? Wolfenstein, Hearts of Iron 4. Nope. Satisfactory is woke. ADA says unauthorized coffee cups can lower your attractiveness to your preferred gender and or your sense of well-being if you have no gender attraction. Woof. Ruined. Can't enjoy my fun game about building conveyor belts because it said the word gender in it. Christ. Imagine not being able to enjoy things. Right? Trans debate's on Thursday, guys. Tetris? No, there's no Tetris. Tetris is not woke. There's no way they can make it. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. I thought that was fun, even though the people really didn't have a really good argument. Had a good time. Charlie's always fun. She has great media takes, so go check her out. Subnautica is going to be woke, guys. I think he plays a brown person. Yep, look at that. No guns. That's too woke. There's a lesbian breakup. Too woke. Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, so agenda Thursday is going to be the trans debate. I am working on the video, and I am going to VidCon next week at the end of the week, actually. So it's coming up real fast here, and I will make, guys, I'm floating the idea of a Patreon-only video because it doesn't really fit the theme of the channel. So members and patrons will get something that no one else ever will. Isn't that cool? We're doing it. We're finally monetizing something. And the only reason is because it's like way too media, and it's weirdly edited. Missed most of the stream. Didn't miss too much. But yeah, this is gonna be interesting. I'm really looking forward to this week. My messages are flooding. I'm gonna start clipping Tim Pool content. Where can you find Charlie? Twitch TV/enemy Charlie. $5 from Giga Gorilla. That's a great name. Thank you. Yeah, it's like the inflection point has been hit, guys. I hit 100K. I'm getting invited places. Congressmen are talking to me. I'm making enough money. I'm ecstatic, and I'm very